shit. Look at it. We're recording.
Look at it. We're doing it.
Look at it.
Wow.
So for those listening, Samantha
Hello.
has actually been on the podcast before.
But you wouldn't know it.
You wouldn't know it though because it was not released. And the reason for that is because...
Tell him, Benson.
So we did one back in February of 2020, and I didn't do the best job recording it. I did a shit job recording it.
Okay. We could also partially put that on the nature of my, the volume of my voice. It was both of our faults.
The volume of Samantha's voice. She's what you'd call a loudmouth, and
yes. In the academic field, this is what we would refer to as a loudmouth.
No, but like I didn't set the recorder. I didn't use the right settings and whatever on the recorder, and like my voice came through fine, and hers didn't.
Lucky you. Good for you, Benson.
but also like for some reason, back when I was recording then, I was using that machine, the Zoom H4n, and I put it to monomix. I put it to monomix so that both of our voices just go onto the same file.
Oh. Ooh.
Which meant there was a huge discrepancy. You were super loud, and then I was not that loud.
It was just my podcast, practically.
And also like, I could have used the onboard compressor or something to like maybe tame your voice while recording.
We'll see if it can be tamed on my like little headphone microphone.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a learning experience. Now you know that you.
So the first time Samantha was on, the recording was not in the best shape, and we
never saw the light of day.
That episode lasted for like 2-ish hours.
Yeah, it was long.
It was long.
I think you had said it was like the longest. I'm sure you've maybe had longer chats at this point, but I think at the time it was like one of the longest.
It was the longest thing I'd ever done. And also, we spent a lot of time talking about like
the first thing on our list is Baba Booey. For anyone who's really like, oh, I wonder what they talked about on that first podcast. The first thing on the list is Baba Booey.
Yeah, so we talked about like having you come on another time to review the first time. To review the first episode you were on,
and it will still happen.
And so this is it. This is what we're gonna do.
This is us reacting to. I mean, in a way, it's like lost media. Like the internet didn't see the first round of this.
Yeah, in fact, I shared the episode with Dr. Cinch.
Oh God, did we talk about him in our? Yeah, we did.
Although I did it because it seems like Dr. Cinch might be my biggest fan aside from myself.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and
that's awesome.
But so the first, I don't know, chunk of this podcast is going to be us running through this list I've typed up of the things we discussed on the first time you're on.
Yes.
And then I suppose we could like have a normal conversation.
Yeah, have a normal conversation like normal humans, but not until that will only happen after we review this list. We cannot have an average conversation.
Yeah.
We can't catch up until then.
Yeah. So
this is important.
This is the first time I've ever had like a quote unquote plan for what we're going to do on a podcast.
Amazing.
But let's see what happens. The title of this document is Topics Discussed on the Podcast with Benson Ty, the first time around with Samantha Nikitas.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yep. Yeah. The very first thing we talked about was Baba Booey.
And I think, like I said when we were setting up, I didn't actually listen back to it yet.
Okay.
For fear of hearing my own voice, for fear of it being like crazy distorted. But I do remember that like we talked about not knowing the origin of Baba Booey.
Yeah.
And I still don't.
And like the first time we heard of I think both of us, the first time we heard of it was from Family Guy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then
I know it's Matt from Family Guy.
Yeah, like we were both introduced to it via Family Guy.
Mm-hmm. But it's a tale old as time, I presume.
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. It's like a mantra. Baba Booey.
Baba Booey.
Yeah, as opposed to Namaste, Baba Booey. And your
That's my favorite Beastie Boys song.
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey.
Just end your meditation or yoga practice with a
because there's a Beastie Boys song called Namaste.
Baba Booey.
For anyone listening.
For anyone who the joke was like, phew, right over the head.
So the next thing we talked about was you keep losing reusable water bottles.
Yeah, and
I think
go ahead.
Around the same time you lost a water bottle, I found one.
Yeah, and I think we determined that it was not the same water bottle. It was just a coincidence because I think we described the respective water bottles to each other and it was not the same. But it was a coincidence.
Because yours had like white lettering.
Yeah. I think it was like a U-Heart brand water bottle. And I was pretty determined to not lose it as I did because everything that's in like the U-Heart bookstore is just like it was
super expensive.
Yeah, it was probably $30 for that water bottle, and I just left it. I don't even know where.
Yeah, I just found mine in a classroom, and I waited a few days to see if like whoever lost it would come like find it, but then it's like I guess they don't care about it.
So it's a.
I'm going to err on the side of benefiting me.
Absolutely, but I feel like that's so wild because in February 2020, I feel like I would never take a water bottle that wasn't mine that I just like randomly found in December 2020 because I'm just like, oh my God, that's like disgusting. Like, what if the water bottle has COVID and then I will have COVID? So that's where we're at. I would never, even though I had in the past, I feel like my days of taking water bottles that I know aren't mine, that's over. That's over for me.
Yeah, and although I kind of really wish it was your water bottle that I know
found. that would have been cool.
I don't
know if I would have been like, may I have the water bottle back, or if I would have just been like, you earned that. Finders keepers, losers weepers. It's the old saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have said.
I would have been like, this means we should do a podcast.
Yeah, this means it's a sign.
Full circle.
It all goes back.
The weirdest serendipity.
Oh yes.
that would lead us to be recording a podcast together.
Yes.
And I think in the middle of that, the first time I moved your microphone a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you let everyone know by saying the word adjustment.
Adjustment? Oh, yeah. I was just verbally
out loud. You just said the word adjustment.
What was happening? Adjustment. I don't remember. That's not on the list, so I didn't recall that. But I do. That definitely does sound like if we were in person and you were to adjust my microphone, I can totally picture that. I would just go adjustment.
And then you said, "Oh, good. Look, Benson's a pro with the audio equipment."
I don't know anything about audio, and I think we talked a little bit about this last time, but I don't really know much about audio. So whenever anyone knows anything about audio, not to say that you don't know a significant amount about audio and that you aren't a pro, but just whenever someone knows anything about audio, I'm just like, whoa, that person like knows what they're doing.
Well, I mean,
just like the fact that you had that little that box
recording machine.
Yeah, just the fact that was present in the room with us, I was like,
the fact that it had microphones.
Yeah, I was like, this is serious.
Well, I mean, I would say I looking back on it, hindsight is 2020, guys.
Shut up. Just shut up.
And I was not a pro at that time.
Well, you learned some things from our lost recording.
Based on the fact that I couldn't release that episode because it was recorded poorly.
Yeah, you were like, oh, it's recorded poorly, and this is what I should have done. And that's how you learn.
Yeah, but and then I think you were saying something like something. I'm speaking into this blue microphone. You were referring to the blue windscreen that was on the microphone.
Yeah,
and I decided to run with the joke that no, these are actually Shure microphones. They're not blue. Blue is a different brand.
Oh yeah. Audio gear nerd jokes. Gotta love them.
And then I said something like, although if blue microphones, if you want to send me shit.
Oh yeah, like sponsor. Come on, like Benson will rep that ish all day, every day if you send him some stuff in the mail.
Just send me stuff, and
just send me things.
Send Benson things.
2020 is the campaign slogan. Send Benson things.
And then I think you were you were saying something like you were saying something, talking about something, and then you're like oh fuck, and then you're like, wait, am I allowed to swear on this show?
Yeah, that happens to me. I mean, I don't know. I feel like sometimes, and everyone has moments where they just accidentally swear and they don't realize until it like comes out.
Well, first of all, you can swear anytime on the show. Anyone can.
Beautiful. But also, for me specifically,
like when you asked me, like if you're allowed to swear, I had literally said shit like a minute before.
But maybe the rules were different for me, as the list does say.
And then listening back to it recently, you also said shit not that long after I said shit.
Oh, but I didn't ask the first time. I guess it was with like the F-bomb, like fucking serious. That's serious business. Like that's one you always have to ask permission for.
Yeah, and then you thought like maybe there are different rules for women between the host and the guest.
Yeah.
And I think we settled on that women are not allowed to swear on the show.
Specifically, yeah. So we set the bar for everybody to,
or at least not women named Samantha.
Yeah. And I think I'm the only guest named Samantha, so I'm following the rule. Or I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not doing that.
You're allowed to swear, Sam. I don't care.
Cool. Fuck the rules. We breaking the rules.
Yeah, and I think the next thing we talked about was like back when I was first starting this, I was like at home. When I was first starting the podcast, I was like at home.
Yeah.
And doing them in my basement.
Yeah. This does not look like is this a basement that you're in?
Well, this is my bedroom.
Okay.
But this is not where I would be recording. I'd need like a actual table or something for people to sit at.
Yeah.
But and like when I first started it, I didn't have a website.
Yeah.
Like I early on, I realized you need a website in order for this to be legit.
Yeah.
Because like in the summer when I was doing it, I wasn't going to launch it until September when like school started. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I should get a website because like I would be trying to contact people who maybe are not like good friends of mine.
Yeah. And they'd be like, who
like,
is this?
I mean, or at least like I know them, but they're not exactly good friends of mine. And they're like adults.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome, man. Like, do you have a link you can send me? I'm like, no, actually, it's not launched yet. I don't have a website yet.
But trust me, we're gonna do a podcast. It will be a podcast.
I lure them into my house to record in the basement.
To record a podcast.
To air quotes, do a pod.
To do a podcast, which means to do a murder. In Benson.
To do a murder.
To do a murder. Of course.
That's my favorite
now,
TV show starring Viola Davis, How to Do a Murder.
Do a murder. I feel like you have a website of some sort now, or a place where all of these goes. And you're on Spotify, which is like, that's where...
Guys, I'm on all the places.
Benson is on all the things. you can listen to him wherever podcasts go.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, if you want to start a thing, make sure you get a website so that it looks like a legit operation, and that you're not trying
like
to
trying to
you're
lure
not a serial killer trying to lure people into your basement.
It's good to get out there. I really like the picture that is on your website for your like bio. Very.
That's actually so for everything else I have, like my social media and whatever, I use a photo. The only photo I've ever taken of myself that was from when I was like 12.
Yeah. Was it in your email? I feel like I saw it and I was like, that's a tiny.
Yeah, I think that's my Google profile photo. And so the thing is, most of the time when you're looking through like social media apps, it's a very small reproduction of like that image. So the thing is, if you look at it like that and it's that small, you can and you see my name next to it. It's like, yeah, that totally looks like Benson, even though he's 12 years old.
Yeah.
And so the only actual current photo of me is the one you see on my website of me doing for people. If you want to look at it, if you want to know what it looks like, just visit my website.
Swing by.
It's me doing the face like that's scrunching up your like neck, and you're like,
there it is, perfect.
It's like Ricky Gervais and his the photos he does of himself in the bathtub.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's just like that.
Anyway, so get a website.
Get a website
so that people don't think you're trying to kill them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that day we did the first podcast. It was on a Friday.
Yeah.
And I didn't during that semester I didn't have any classes on Fridays. So
I thought you were just gonna like stop there and say like I didn't have any classes, and I was like, wait, what? You didn't? Were you not enrolled last semester? So
no, but like I didn't have classes on Fridays that semester, so I had driven out just to podcast you.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I think at the time I didn't realize that you were a commuter, and I was like, oh, Benson, like we're just gonna go walk to this place where we're gonna meet. Like he's gonna walk from his respective place, and I'm gonna walk from mine. But you drove an hour out. It said, yeah. That's dedication to the. I mean, I feel like that's dedication, like not just to the podcast, but to like school in general. Like I feel like I would not personally me, like I loved living on campus, not because, campus is such a wonderful place to live, but just because it's super convenient.
Yeah. But I think right afterward you let out the most genuine like, "Aw, I appreciate it."
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just like, why would anyone...
That's so cool.
Why would anyone drive an hour out just to talk to me about Baba Booey and book heading out? And we'll get to all of these things.
And then I think, and you at the time you said like you feel like you're officially in your 20s because you're on a podcast.
I still feel that way. I still feel like the mark of young adulthood is being either like a podcaster, or I feel like you have to be a special kind of person to do like a YouTube channel. But I see that that kind of feels like an entirely different thing, like being a YouTuber versus being a podcaster. But I feel like I see a lot of people doing the podcast, and I feel like the podcast is starting, not that it hasn't always been around, but I feel like they're like making a big old comeback, and like everyone wants to have a podcast. And I think we started talking about, my friend and I, we almost had or I don't want to say we almost had a podcast, because we didn't almost had a podcast or have a podcast. We were just like, oh, what if we did this for a podcast? You
almost thought about having a podcast.
Yeah, we almost thought about like seriously setting up a podcast, but realistically we were just like, the podcast would be this and we will never record it. It's just like never. I think we came up for like, we started to brainstorm like names, and then I don't even think we like picked a name. I think picking a name for a podcast could maybe be like the fun part, but then you're like, oh, I actually have to maybe like learn things about audio and how to set all of that up. And that's, I was just like, if I can't do it instantly, why do it at all?
I think, I had me trying to select a name from my podcast.
Yours is very, very simple. Very minimalist.
Yeah, it is. It's for those who are not aware, who are listening to this but are not aware of what the title is.
I don't know how that could come about.
It's called The Podcast with Benson Ty.
I think when you originally told me, though, it wasn't like, I think you told me like it's just called The Podcast. Like you didn't even say like with Benson Ty, so I was just like,
yeah.
Because I mean, like when you Google The Podcast with Benson Ty, like that comes up. But I think if you were to just Google The Podcast, you that would be almost like impossible to get.
Yeah.
To rise to the top and just become like the first thing that pops up when one looks up The Podcast.
Yeah, I think I specifically named it that so that when I tell people about it, it's like, oh, so what's the name of your podcast? The Podcast. It's called The Podcast.
Like, and where do we go from here?
you can look at it in like multiple ways because you can say, oh, it's The Podcast with Benson Ty, as in it's the only podcast anywhere that's hosted by me.
It's not a podcast with Benson Ty because that would imply that there would be a few of them, and this was just one of them.
But you can also think of it as like the official title is literally just The Podcast.
The Podcast.
And then subtitle
font size
with
12.
Benson Ty because he hosts it. It's called The Podcast.
With Benson Ty, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you and your friends, I think you said your idea for it was like giving advice to people or something like that.
Yeah, it's so, I feel like in retrospect, looking at it, I was like, I feel like that could have either been like a cool idea but I feel like most of me thinks it was just kind of like dumb because my idea was, we wanted to do like an advice column, but the advice column was going to be that it was me and my other friends, so two of us, and one of us would be drunk and one of us would be high on marijuana. And we never set it up. When I say it out loud, I'm just like, that sounds so fucking dumb. I feel like it could have potentially been interesting, but I'm also just like, it feels kind of like odd to, I mean, I know people obviously recreationally smoke pot and people go out to bars, but it feels so odd to like schedule a time where you're going to sit down with drunk. Your friend. Yeah, to be high and drunk. And I
punctually and productively because you're going to record it.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know if that.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah,
it doesn't sound like a recipe for success. I think.
I mean, there's that.
When you're drunk and high, you should just be drunk and high. You shouldn't necessarily go.
There's this podcast hosted by a comedian named Doug Benson where they get high and like talk about movies called Getting Doug with High.
Doug with High. I feel like it's one. Yeah. I mean, I guess there are plenty of podcasts where people are probably like getting high during their podcast, if not like as a feature of the podcast. But I mean, if it's, what is it called, you said?
So it's called Getting Doug with High.
Getting Doug with, yeah. So, I mean, like the goal of the podcast is to listen to like a high person talk, which I guess, there's a...
Which you can do.
You can do
that anywhere.
Yeah, you can do that anywhere. And people will listen to it. But I don't know. I guess it just feels weird to like think about like scheduling time to specifically be high and try to have a productive, entertaining conversation. That just feels like a lot of.
All right. So I think this morphed into you asking me about what it takes in terms of equipment or something.
Yeah.
And like basically like at the time when we did that session, I literally had a microphone for each of us and then the recorder. That was it.
Yeah. And that's all there is to it.
And like,
I guess it didn't work out in our case because that episode, I was like, oh, well, that's all you need, but maybe you need more or less than that if it didn't turn out correctly.
I could have used a different mode on that recorder to independently set our levels.
So is that what's happening like right now? Like our levels, are we independent?
We're on different tracks. We're going to be on different tracks.
So that will make
I'll have more, I can have more control fine tuning it.
Beautiful.
And also, so like you would need microphones for whoever's there, and then a recorder, and then I guess a computer in order to like edit it.
Yes.
Which I think we got into a thing about how you have GarageBand on your Mac.
I do. As
which
all Macs have.
I affectionately refer to as GarageBand.
GarageBand. Yeah. Well, I mean, as all Macs do, because I believe it just comes with your Mac, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, we're recording in we're in like a browser thing right now, which is so.
I mean, for back in the before times when you could meet in person, you could just do 2 microphones, a thing, and then a computer later to edit it.
Yeah. Now it's the computer. I feel like, oh gosh, what was I just about to say? It just like, well, I feel like what I was going to say probably pertained to just like how quickly coronavirus happened. I mean, I can't believe that one of the last.
I mean, like a month after we recorded.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Or rather, like it got serious. It was declared a pandemic, and everyone was sent home a month after we recorded.
Yeah, and I feel like when we first got, I think this was along the lines of like what I was thinking, but I feel like when we first got sent home, it coincided with our spring break. And we were all kind of, or at least me and my friend group, we were like under the impression that we'll probably have, an extended break, maybe 2 weeks as opposed to like 1 week. And then we'll go back and then like we'll be together again. That obviously is not what happened. And it's just so like jarring to me to think that like in February when we recorded that first podcast, like we had no idea about like, what was going to happen. I mean, coronavirus was a thing. It was in the United States, but I feel like everyone was still at that. We were all kind of like downplaying it. I think like.
I mean, it was first documented in December, in the previous December.
I remember though, like when I was doing my student teaching, like when they were like, a lot of them were like really nervous about it, and I would tell them stuff like, oh, like it's not as bad as the flu, because that's like what we were hearing about it at the time. I feel like when we were first starting to talk about it in America, and obviously it is not just like the flu, or this would not, we would be maybe in person having this conversation if it were just like the flu. But here we are on Zoom.
Yeah. And, now I feel weird that we keep going on tangents, actually having a conversation, but then I still want to get through the thing.
I know. Yeah, no. Let's go.
I swear I don't have COVID. I've never had COVID.
I haven't had COVID either. I've been lucky to get tested every week at my job, but I know some people who have had COVID, but not me.
Now they're dead.
No. Very, very luckily for me, I don't know. I don't know anyone personally who has passed away from COVID, but I do know like people my age who have gotten it, but haven't gotten super sick from it, which is muy bueno. We love that. Yes. Love when people don't die.
Right. Now, on a lighter note, this next item says Benson did not and still does not know what he's doing.
Do you know a little bit more what you're doing than at this like that time?
I would say so, yes. Like now I'm recording each person on a different track.
Were you not doing that at all before? And I was like, was I like the realization that
kind of, yeah. Because because at that time I was still not, I did not know what I was doing, but like I knew like this particular mode on the recorder I had, I'm like, I know how to work this. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have, like, I'm comfortable using, it's been fine so far. Yeah, like even though it mixes both channels down to a single file, and you can't independently set levels for each microphone. I was like, I can work with this though. It's fine.
And then you had me on the podcast and you were like, oh, I cannot work with this.
Yeah, let me get a different recorder that has
so long as there
actual physical knobs to set the level for each input.
So long as there are guests like Sam Nikitas in the world, that recorder is not going to cut it or whatever mode that was.
Yeah. And next, you said you listened to Chuck's episode at the time.
Yeah. Have you seen Chuck? Because obviously I have not seen Chuck.
I had a class with him this past fall.
Okay. Was it like, because I have no clue what even classes look like for college right now. So was it in person?
They do it remotely wherever they can.
Yeah.
So that one class I had with him was remote.
Yeah.
We would meet like on a Zoom call every week.
Okay. How is Chuck?
I think he's good. I'm podcasting him a couple days from now.
Awesome. Whoop whoop.
And
Yeah, his episode was intense. I mean, he had a story about like how ICE
he almost got deported
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, is he at home in Canada doing remote classes? He is?
Yeah. The plan for fall 2020 was to have people like come in, of course, like get tested and whatever before they come in. Mm-hmm. Have remote classes where it does make sense.
Yeah.
And then have like also like every week grab a random sample of students and test them.
Yeah.
And then have when Thanksgiving comes around, send everybody home and then finish out the semester online.
Yeah, I think
so that there's less
did that.
Yeah. Have them stay home until spring semester so that there's less big events of people coming and going from the university.
Yeah, like Thanksgiving, I'm sure that would have been like a disaster.
Yeah, like or the coming back after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That's rough for Chuck though, because I know that at UHart he was like very involved in sports, and I'm sure that I'm sure no one is really involved in sports right now. No sports. Well, I think I honestly can say I have like no clue what's going on at UHart. Like I have not really kept in close contact with anyone who is still there right now. But I feel like I last heard that they were going to have like basketball games, but there wasn't going to be like the pep band or the cheerleaders or anything. Yeah. So was there like a basketball season, or were there like no?
I'm so not a sports person, so I'm not the person to ask.
I really don't know what they're doing.
But from what I can gather, it's like they did, like I can only assume they like canceled most, if not all, the sports things.
Yeah. It's so weird. I feel like, in a way, I feel like very happy that I graduated in the spring, even though like I couldn't get a formal graduation or like a decent ending to my undergrad college experience. I honestly like don't know if I would have gone back to school if they were going to be like, yep, this is what it will look like, baby. I feel like I would have been like, I can wait on that. I don't know. I don't know if I would have wanted to go back.
Guys, I can wait.
Yeah, I would have been, even if it was my last year, I feel like I would have been like, I don't know.
You can come back, except we'll be on. Yeah, that's okay. I'm good.
Yeah, like, I'm good. Right? That's another thing. I feel like if I had withdrawn, I mean, again, not like this is a situation I had to actually think through, but also if I had withdrawn, I don't know if I would have come back in the later future even. So I'm very glad that I graduated.
Call me back when you don't have COVID. When it's not a thing anymore.
Right. And is like tuition less than what it was before? Is anything less expensive?
Well, because inflation is a thing, tuition.
Frickin' inflation.
I mean, tuition's going up, but like.
It always has been.
There are some people who
something on campus too.
Yeah. But there are some people who I noticed they were allowed to be completely remote.
Uh-huh.
So they. Like if it were a normal quote unquote normal year, they would have lived on campus.
Yeah.
But then they were given the chance to be remote so that they don't have to pay for like room and board.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. And
nice.
So next thing.
Yeah. Next thing. Yes, on the list. Let's go.
I think you said you were sad that you wouldn't have any more, because at the time you were about to graduate.
Yeah.
You said you would be sad that you wouldn't have any more classes with like Julie or like Mark Blackwell or Dr. Cinch.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the time I wasn't taking many classes because I was mostly student teaching, but I did have one class with Julie once a week, which was always good. Oh, I just said good really strangely, whatever. Auto tune it in post. Auto tune my voice.
Is that because you read the next point where I spelled good weird?
I don't know. I wonder if I was. So I didn't even notice that, but I wonder if I was subconsciously looking at it. That's so funny. But yeah, Julie is an angel, and the recommendation letter that she wrote for me when I was looking for jobs was so good and nice. And I feel like, I don't know, I wouldn't have ever wanted to live in Connecticut post-college, but I feel like I wish I could like kind of visit campus if that's not like a weird alumni thing to do. Like, I don't know if it's lame for people who have graduated to come back, because I feel like that's a thing in high school, kind of like when people who have graduated high school and then go to college, they come back, it's either like really cool or it's like, oh, like just move on, just get out of here. So I don't know if it would be like that, but part of me wishes that like I could go visit Julie and like see what's up. But
well, if COVID wasn't a thing, you could have come back to visit me to be on a podcast.
I know. Yeah. And that's what we were planning originally. I remember like when you first reached out to me, we were like thinking that it could happen sooner than later at that point. But and here we are in December, and it still has to be through a Zoom call.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark Blackwell and Brian Cinch, I think, and Julie, of course.
Yeah. And by the way, the next item on the list reads, "We love Mark Blackwell because he talks stuff good."
He talks stuff good. He does. I mean, I think kind of what we talked about with Professor Blackwell, or like we didn't talk with him last time, but what we talked in regards to him was his classes were really enjoyable because he obviously like knows so much, but when he like is talking, it doesn't come across in a way that, I don't know, is like intimidating or like uninviting. Like I feel like with some professors, it's obvious that they know a lot about their subject area, but the way that they deliver it is just like, I don't know, boring as fuck, and you like don't want to engage with it in any way. But I don't know, his classes and the like way he kind of, I guess, carried himself even was always just like very inviting, and he always had a way of like going off of whatever comment you had contributed to class that always made you feel like, oh, maybe I also know some things too. If Mark Blackwell is going on, you know, this tangent about Paradise Lost after I have offered my input on Paradise Lost, maybe I do know something because Mark Blackwell has something to say.
Yeah, like having classes with Mark Blackwell, like every session felt like basically a podcast where like you just say stuff to Mark, and then he starts saying
stuff to say,
and then he has like 8 or 9 rather interesting points to say.
Yeah,
and that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk to him on the podcast.
Yeah, because he's very good at having conversations. Because I feel like in some conversations or in some classes, a student or a professor will say something and then the conversation will just kind of fall flat, or you only have like a few things to work off of. But with Mark Blackwell, it's just like bam, bam, bam. Like the info keeps coming.
Yeah. And and of course, like I got him on to presumably have a smart conversation with him and then spent the first 17 minutes talking about pickles.
I love that. 17 minutes dedicated to pickles. Wow. But that's just the kind of guy he is. He has so much to say about everything.
Anything.
Even if it's just pickles.
Oh my God. I guess you could also describe me that way.
So, I feel like
having both of us
quality.
on a podcast, two guys who have so much to say about anything.
Well, I feel like that's a good quality to have as like a podcast host, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there are some times where I've like listened to podcasts, and I feel like people usually who have podcasts, you know, are the kind of personality where they always do have something to go off of and they keep going. But I feel like I've listened to some podcasts that, I don't know, the hosts, I feel like it's usually multiple hosts, but sometimes, especially with like podcasts that are just like friends and they're just kind of like in the same room as each other and they're very comfortable with each other and comfortable with having like, you know, interims of silence. But sometimes they keep the silence like in the footage and it just, or not the footage, I guess, but in the audio recording, and it's just awkward for the listener. I don't know, man.
Oh no, there's I mean, sometimes there's one there, but
there it goes. There it goes.
Oh no, it's like I think it's all about like, I guess you're making sure that you're kind of interesting, that you know how to spin something, even if you're like not totally knowledgeable about it, to spin it in a way so that you can kind of talk about it.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes with like podcasts that I listen to that are between friends, it's just like sometimes the conversations you hear will be like so quick and short with one another, because that's just like, you know, the way that people who are around each other to that degree, you know, as like best friends are. I don't know. I just feel like with some podcasts that are between best friends, there's just like inside jokes that I don't feel left in on, and they don't like explain to the viewer like what's going on, so it's just kind of like mysterious.
I don't know, because like the ones I've had with like just peers of mine, like we end up talking, and there's not a lot of dead air. We do keep the thing going. We keep up with each other.
I think there's a difference with this podcast though, because it's not as if that friend is always with you. I think it's different when, like, if you were a podcast and it was hosted with someone else who is also your best friend, who you see all the time. Yeah.
Although, I mean, like, I feel like if I did have a best friend who I did a podcast with, we wouldn't be like very short.
I don't know. I feel like I've just heard some podcasts recently that I've like tried to get into that are just like two best friends, and they have their own sort of like inside jokes with one another that they don't. I feel like they don't let me in on their secret, and I'm like, I want to know.
We might have inside jokes, but it's not. Like the way you're describing it sounds like monosyllabic.
Yeah.
Like them just asking each other how they're doing that day. And
sorry, that was a. What's up, doggy? Sorry, that was a dog. Do you hear it?
Yeah, I do.
All right. She'll stop in a second. She just, you know, she just needs to do dog things.
No, guys, I'll cut that out. But,
yeah, we'll cut the dog things out. It's okay, dog.
But you know, the problems I've had were with like people I would have on who are like say professors I don't know very well.
Yeah.
Or just people who are like adults and like expect this to be like an actual interview.
Like real adults here. Adults. I know we technically qualify as adults, but
like, because like I would be talking with them and they would not understand that it's supposed to be just us talking.
Yeah.
And so they would offer like responses that sound a little too rehearsed or stilted or nervous, because they're not exactly comfortable or familiar with the idea of just us talking.
Yeah. So strange. Where are we on the list? I think the last
at this point, this is good. I figured we would spend like an hour and a half going through the list and then like another hour and a half just talking. But like at this point, we're just like mixing it up, and I don't know. I have no idea how we're going to finish this, but
we can get it done.
So Mark Blackwell and Brian Cinch at the time were on like semi-sabbatical. They were on sabbatical, but because they have like administrative positions in the College of Arts and Sciences, they were like still on campus for a little bit to like do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they weren't around as often as they previously were. And obviously now they're just at home. Or like professors on campus and stuff. Is anyone like on campus for any purpose?
Not really.
So weird. That's so strange.
Maybe Dr. Cinch so he can chair things.
Just hanging out.
So he can chair the department, but
yeah.
All right.
Do people get paid to be on late night talk shows?
Yeah. Do people get paid to be on late night talk shows? Do they?
Did we come to a conclusion last time when we talked about it?
I think we concluded that the fact that you're on the show getting exposure is the payment, I guess.
I feel like there are talk shows though where the guest is like very well known and doesn't necessarily need exposure
to be paid.
Yeah.
Or exposed.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a bigger person and you're going on like, I don't know, I was trying to think of like a talk show off the top of my head, but I don't know any off the top of my head.
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. If you're going to go on that, I feel like you already have to be pretty well known to be like on Jimmy Fallon. So I don't know really what that exposure is doing for you. It's just kind of like, oh, cool, you're on Jimmy Fallon. Like that's an achievement.
Yeah. And I mean, and I suppose like if in the future, probably the thing I'd be most known for would probably be the podcast if I ever reach any modicum of success.
Yes.
And I guess if like Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert were kind enough to invite me on to their show to like plug the podcast, I'd probably fuck it up.
Yeah, right. I feel like another thing about talk shows and interviews in general, especially with like more well-known guests, is the fact that I think a lot of them are like trained through what to say, or like to some degree already know what they're going to say and what they're going to be asked. It's not like you get on the talk show and you have no idea of what questions are going to be asked to you. Yeah,
like they do brief before the show. Like, what is it? Like, do you know what do you want to do for? Are you going to like if they're a comedian, like, do you want to do like sit down stand up for 7 minutes, or do you want to talk about this? Like, you just had a baby or whatever.
You just had a baby. Do you want to talk about the baby?
Yeah. Although I think the one person I do know about who didn't really do that was like Craig Ferguson.
I don't think I can't say I'm familiar with Craig Ferguson.
The Scottish guy on the Late Late Show.
The Scottish guy that does not ring anymore. Okay, whatever. That was for me.
But because I feel like if I were to be on, they would brief with me and be like we're gonna talk about the podcast, okay? Cool, thanks. And then I would be like, but then I would be on the show trying to plug all the things because I do have a podcast and that's what I'm here for. But I also I made this movie. I made this record that you could listen to.
You'd be like, I did this. Look at all my things.
I brought my guitar if you want me to
entertain you. I can serenade you. I'm a Renaissance man.
And okay, so the next thing is so Sam thinks Benson has a wonderful speaking voice.
Benson
disagrees.
And I think we talked about, I feel like it's kind of just in most people to not, when they hear their own voice back, they're like, ugh, that's disgusting. Like, I think that's just kind of how people feel about hearing their own voice, because when you hear it in your head, it doesn't sound the same as what other people hear.
Yeah, because as I said in the first session, it's because when you hear your own voice vibrating through your skull, you are hearing it vibrate through your own cranium, so you get a little more bass response, so it might sound deeper to you than it does like out in the real world.
Yeah.
Although in my case, it's because I straight up don't like the color of my voice, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I've heard other people tell me like I have they like the sound of my voice, but I feel like like, Benson, you have such a great voice for this internet radio thing. I'm like, no, I don't.
Do I? I mean, well, you're here doing it, and your podcasts sound good. So
yeah, well, and then
I feel like there's been people with more annoying voices who have had podcasts.
Yeah, and then I think I said something like maybe after doing stuff in post it might sound good. Yeah. And then you let out, and then you said this. You said something. You let out the most disappointed, kind of offended. I'm sitting across from you, and you think it sounds terrible.
I'm sitting across from. Wait, what does sitting across from you have to do with it?
I said something about it might sound good after I do stuff in post.
Oh, okay.
You're like, I'm listening to you in real time, sitting at a table across from you.
Oh, okay, I got it. That's what I was trying to. I'm sitting across from you. Just like take my word for it. I can hear you. I'm using my ears. How dare you?
How dare you disagree with the compliment I'm trying to give you?
Right? So rude.
I'm just trying to say you have a sexy voice, Benson.
Come on, Benson. Take the compliment. Jesus Christ. Ooh. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, I guess, like I said, I feel like most people have a different idea of what like their voice sounds like than it actually does. But I feel like you probably, because you have a podcast and you spend time listening to and editing your own podcast, you probably have like a pretty realistic idea of like, okay, this is what I sound like.
Yeah, I've spent so much time listening back to myself that I've pretty much reconciled.
Yeah.
The voice inside my head and the voice out in the real world are basically the same now, so I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, yeah. You're like desensitized to that like cringe that people have when they hear their own voice, because I feel like
desensitized to myself.
Aren't we all a little desensitized to ourselves?
It's like how you can't smell yourself. And
yeah. That's so funny.
But now it's your voice, or at least it's my voice to myself.
It's the voice, but not the smell.
I can't hear myself.
I can't hear myself. I can't smell myself. Just like you can't see your nose, like your brain, like your eyes, I think, can technically see your nose, but your brain like ignores it. So it's just like that, basically.
Yeah, kind of like that.
All the senses.
Yeah. The next thing is about actors, and like Carol, you would admire actors who do like impressions or accents.
Do I?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's just, I feel like when I think about like actors and people who I enjoy, just like, I wonder I feel like that must have come from a specific context of like what we were talking about, because I feel like when I think of like actors that I like.
We were talking about like changing your voice, changing how your voice sounds, being able to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because I feel like, even though, I don't know, not that I've necessarily like ever tried to change my voice, but I feel like some people are just like really good at it and like making themselves sound a particular way. And I feel like, I don't know, that's hard because like you said, what you hear for scientific reasons that you explained that I didn't absorb well enough to recite back to you. But you explained it earlier, like why your voice in your head sounds, I think, like kind of deeper than it really is. So I feel like if you're like an actor who does an impression of a specific person, or if you're like a voice actor particularly and you're trying to like capture a certain character or voice, like it's hard to make yourself sound that way when you can't even really like hear what it really sounds like in your head.
Well, a lot of voice actors also tend to be singers, so they're like That's really in tune.
Yeah,
I didn't know because when you're doing impressions, it's basically like you're trying to hit a note. Right?
It's like you're singing but talking.
Kind of, because you're trying to posture like all like the things in your body, all your throat, in order to produce a particular sound. So it's like being able to control your body in order to direct it to produce the sound you want. Yeah. Whether it be in singing or doing impressions, it's kind of the same mechanism. Yeah.
I think it's interesting too because like when you talk as yourself, you have a particular, I guess, like cadence in the way you speak. And so when you're doing impressions, it's not only that you have to like make your voice sound different, it's that you have to like talk in a different rhythm to match like I guess a good example that I can think of is like when people do impressions of President Obama, they will like talk like you can hear how it sounds like in your voice or in your head. Like he has a certain like cadence that contributes to, you know, doing a Barack Obama impression.
Yeah. And it can even be like the smallest things in terms of, say, like how you place your teeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like where you flick your tongue or when or something like that. Where you place your tongue on like particular syllables or consonants.
Yeah, man, I am like not that in tune with my body to be able to do like to be conscious of all those things going on. What?
Yeah. And
yeah.
Yeah, neither am I.
We just talk and we are ourselves. The next bullet point just says in quotation marks, crises. It doesn't have a question mark, but I'm adding a question mark because I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so because you said you were trying to say the word crisis. You were trying to pluralize the word.
Was I saying crises?
And you were saying like crisis. I corrected you saying crises.
Oh, that's such a shame that I would make that error. I was an English major and an English teacher that I would say crises.
And then you were like, wait a minute. I think Chuck said the same word. He had trouble saying the same pluralized form of the word on his
the
episode.
Podcast? Yeah, I do remember that now.
It was the same ending, but it wasn't the same. His was series. And the plural, the series. The plural of series is still series.
Man, it's so hard. Like trying to, something I need to work on as like a teacher, I guess, is like figuring out how to explain all of these like grammatical rules to children when I don't fully understand.
Yeah.
The grammatical rules myself. Like, why shouldn't it be crises? Why must it be crises? I don't know.
And then some of these quote unquote rules in English have more exceptions than actual things that follow it.
Yeah, like I before E except after C and a million other different scenarios in which I does not precede E at all. Like, what? We love grammar.
Right. The next thing, we love Serial. The podcast Serial.
Yeah.
You loved the first season.
I did love the first season, and I think I expressed that I thought the first season was really interesting, and then I thought the continuing seasons were going to be about the same case that they were exploring in the first season, but it was different cases that I don't know if I was kind of just turned off by the fact that it wasn't the case that I was really interested in, or if the cases that they were then talking about weren't interesting in themselves, but I was just like, I was really rolling with the first thing that we were talking about. Yeah.
I remember I tried to listen to the second season. I mean, it's not like it was bad. It was just like I think at the time I just didn't have time to get into it, so I ended up not listening to the whole thing.
Yeah. Have they come out with more seasons? I think they maybe had a second one and a third one. But I think
there's a third one, and I think a fourth one is supposed to be coming, but it's not out yet.
It's coming.
I could be wrong.
Could be wrong. There's always a chance.
Yeah. And I think I asked you like if you listen to a lot of podcasts, and you said no.
I didn't listen to a lot of podcasts at the time. I see that I mentioned like a specific one
about tattoo artists.
It was actually about piercers, which is a different realm, I guess, slightly.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I don't know why I just like didn't start listening to that podcast, but I do listen to more podcasts now that I have like a work commute, I guess, because before I didn't really have like I don't know, it wasn't my thing to just kind of like be in my home and sitting down like and listen to a podcast, but I feel like to like be in the car and listen to a podcast is a different thing. But I didn't have a car and didn't have anywhere to be with a car, so I wasn't like listening to podcasts in my car. But now I have a car and I have a long drive to work, and sometimes I get real sick of the music playlist that I make, because I'm one of those people who will listen to like the same 10 songs over and over until I get sick of them or find a new song to listen to. So I just like, I feel like I don't listen to a lot of podcasts that center around like Piercing Wizard is obviously a podcast about piercing. But I feel like I listen to a lot of podcasts that are just like this, where it's like people having conversations.
So you only listen to my podcast?
I only listen to Benson Kai's podcast.
Yeah.
Or just podcasts that aren't like someone I work with has a podcast that is centered around like horror novels, and they talk about horror novels with their friends. And I'm like, that is so cool and interesting, but I myself like am not personally interested in that thing or knowledgeable on that thing to a degree that I want to consume a podcast about it. But I feel like with just podcasts that are like conversations, we, you know, can find something that, I don't know, we don't know what we're going to talk about when we go into it. So it can be something that the viewer might be knowledgeable on. It might be something that they aren't, but with just it being about one thing, I feel like that's something that kind of like turns me off from the podcast.
Yeah. And when you were telling me about Piercing Wizard,
is the name of Benson's band.
I said, it turns out Piercing Wizard is the name of my band. And then you let out the most genuine, like, whoa, really?
And I don't think it was true.
That was just me making a joke.
Benson lied to me, and I was like, "What?"
And then I actually felt really bad because that was
because you tricked me.
That was such a pure you going whoa, and then I felt bad about letting you down. That like, no, that was a joke. First of all, I've never had a band.
Let alone a band called Piercing Wizard. There's never been a band to begin with. And even if there was a band, it wouldn't be called Piercing Wizard.
That's just, like, you might have heard me sometimes say, like, that's the title of my next album. Or, like, that's the name of my band. And so.
Yes, I love that. I remember you would say that, like, in class, like, that's the title of my next album.
Yeah, and then it didn't hit you that I would be joking about Piercing Wizard.
It went over my head in that context.
No, but like, and I guess that made you think about how like kind of gullible you are, and
gullible.
That gullible. Yeah, how you're like when you were student teaching, your students would like prank you or stuff about like telling you your shoes are untied.
They would tell me my shoes were, or I think it would only actually be like one specific student who would do it to me, but he was able to do it to me like multiple times. Like telling me on several different days, or maybe even, I want to say there was an instance where it was the same day. Like he did it once, and like a period later, he was telling me my shoes were untied again. And I was like, no, they're not. But I would always look. And now my kids do where I'm teaching now, my kids do the thing where they make like this symbol.
Oh, that.
Yeah. I don't know how to describe
it. For the listeners, it's the like thing where you like
symbol.
You make the hand sign for okay. It's the thing where like apparently you put it below your waist and you can get someone to look at it. You get to punch them or something.
Yeah, well, we don't do the punching version, obviously, because we don't encourage kids to punch each other, and we don't want to punch the kids, and the kids hopefully don't want to punch us. Maybe that's not true. I'm sure kids do want to punch teachers quite a bit. But we just do kind of like a gotcha. So that's what's going on where I'm teaching. That's how students prank me nowadays. Not by telling me
you actually got a teaching job straight out of school?
Oh, yes. I got a teaching job straight out of school, which I know not many people can say when they graduate college or when, especially during a pandemic. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Now, given how short and young you look, are you mistaken for a student when you walk into the school where you teach?
I'm not mistaken for a student, but I think part of that is because of where I work, because I do not work in a school per se. So I guess I do work in a school, but I work for a nonprofit organization that gives educational services to children who are, I guess for lack of better words, like in the custody of the Department of Mental Health. So basically I work in a mental hospital and I work in the school that is in the mental hospital. So I look very different from someone who would be like in like a student there. So it's very obvious that, you know, I don't live at the hospital like my students live at the hospital. Yeah. So there is like that way to, you know, tell us apart, which is good. But I don't know if I was maybe working in like a public school, if it would be easier to mistake me for a student.
So you're not getting handed hall passes like you were last year.
No one is handing me a hall pass, which is good. Yeah.
So you're teaching.
It takes people a second to like understand what it is that I do.
You're teaching.
I'm teaching ELA. Yeah.
Okay. Or English as a first language. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's just a standard ELA class like you would see in any school. But it is kind of interesting because in a regular public school, you know, you have kids who are separated in classes by what grade they're in. But obviously, because of the nature of where I work, I'm in a mental hospital. You can't really guarantee that the kids who are there are in certain grades, if that makes sense. Like we don't have like an 8th grade class or a 10th grade class. We try to like group the kids as close to their age group as possible, but sometimes we have like a 14-year-old who's in the same class as a 17-year-old, and you just have to have to work with it. But yes, I do have a job for the thing I majored in right out of college, which is
teaching English.
Teaching English,
just not like
in a mental hospital.
Just not in the the usual place where you would teach English.
Yes. I like teaching in this kind of, I guess, like population or demographic. It's really cool because something that I really didn't like about like student teaching in a public school is how many fucking kids I was responsible for. Like, am I recalling correctly that you have like an education minor or major or something, or am I like making that up in my head?
Me?
You?
Well, we were in the same program, which is English secondary education.
Okay. But do you have a second major? Am I not mistaking something?
Film and then English secondary education.
Okay. So are you doing like student teaching and field work this year?
No, because of COVID.
Okay, so no one's doing in person.
I'm in year 3 out of 4 of the sequence, so I'm not in practicum or student teaching yet.
Gotcha. See, I'm confused on that whole like what they must be doing for people who I guess like it's their last year and they need to like get the student teaching in. Like I've been
talking to like I had a class with Bobby and Chuck, and they were actively like teaching, like being in a classroom, but also sometimes remote, just because most of like a lot of kids are being remote or whatever in their schools.
Yeah, I think like hybrid is a big thing. Mm-hmm. Like there's like the kids
like they would be in a classroom trying to teach, but like there might be a few kids actually in the room while like everyone else is tuning in online.
Yeah, I am like I'm fully in it with my kids. Like I'm there every day in person because my kids can't, like, they don't have access to computers if they're not in school. They can't have them like over on the unit where they live. Because, you know, as is the nature of like a mental hospital, you can't really have like your phone or a computer with you. So like we're just in it every day. But as I was saying, I only work with like 20 to 30 kids total. My classes are like super small. I have like 3 kids per class, which is just like, I feel like this is like the way that like every school should be. I feel like it's so hard to build like meaningful relationships with kids when you have to get things done with 20 different kids all needing different things in one room at the same time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot better being able to like work with kids in such a tiny setting.
Yeah, it's like how many kids are in the class?
Well, typically, I guess I don't have any semblance of what this place looked like before this year, but apparently the class sizes used to be like 5 kids to a class, and because of social distancing and where we have to like have the desks placed and everything this year, most classrooms can only fit 3 students plus the teacher in them, depending on how big the class is. But they're pretty, I think the biggest class size I have is a class of 8 students who are all in the library. Like there's a classroom in the library, so that's like the biggest class that we can have. So yeah, it's very small, but I feel like it is very effective with like being able to actually work with kids in a meaningful capacity.
Yeah. All right. Next thing. Yes. Benson's weird standing as a student.
Got a lot on his plate. There's food on the table.
Because I have the film major, the English major, the education certification, which is basically a major in itself.
Yeah, it's basically a whole different thing wrapped into one.
And I'm trying to minor in music. So Benson has got a lot on his plate. And then you said there is food on the table.
There's food on the table. There's food on Benson's plate.
There's too much on Benson's plate. It's spilling over onto the table.
I mean, what does that look like right now in 2020?
My programs?
Yeah. Like how is it going? Are you still like on track where you need to be for whatever that means for you?
Yeah, I am. I only have one more English class to take, which is the capstone.
Yay.
After the spring semester ends, I will have completed all my film requirements.
Awesome.
And like, I guess, there's still a few more things I have to do for like, the education certification.
Yeah.
Because, like, I totally could have taken differentiation.
Okay.
This past semester, but like it just went up in smoke. The listing, the course listing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was supposed to be taught by Dr. Sood.
Oh, okay, yeah. I remember.
But then she like canceled it. I'm like, well, I can't. The other section is like conflicting with something else, so I can't take it.
That's awful. I'm sorry. That would always be like the worst thing, was when a class that you needed didn't fit into your schedule because of another class that you need.
Yeah, especially if you're like the departments of cinema and English and are technically under A&S.
Yes,
they're both under A&S. But like because they're different things, it's not like they communicate with each other. It's not like they're gonna schedule all their classes in a way so that I can fit them.
Yeah, it's not just about you.
So this one student can fit everything.
Yeah, and I think we kind of talked about it can be confusing with like the education major, because I think we like fall under the College of Arts and Sciences, but some of our classes are technically a part of just the like College of Education and Nursing and Health Practices.
Yeah, because the major itself is English, which is Arts and Sciences. But the other half of the program is the certification in education, so that we are sort of part of the education department, but
but not really,
but not officially on paper.
Yeah.
So like there would be a lot of times where we would try to register for, say, education courses,
and it would be like
we need to find someone to give an override because we're technically not in the college the education department. That's part of the College of Education, Nursing, Health Sciences, and whatever the P stands for.
Yeah, whatever the P stands for. It would say that you have like a major restriction because you weren't in a major that was like in that school. And like I guess things that would be in the School of Education would be like if you were, would that only encompass, I guess, like special education and like early education, because I feel like if you're majoring in a subject area and wanting to teach that subject area, then you fall into a different category.
I think for all of the
like who gets to be an education major? Who's is like in that school?
The people who are not English or math secondary.
Okay.
Because everyone else would be, because the only secondary programs are English and math.
Yeah, we don't have.
So where it would actually make sense for you to earn a degree in that field, while everyone else would be majoring in education to be like early childhood or like do integrated
like special ed
ages or special ed. Yeah. So like, they would be like for the most part teaching younger people, as in like actual kids. Where
special ed is technically like, I guess I don't really think about it a lot, but I'm technically in like where I'm teaching, like I'm considered like a special education teacher, but it's like not at all, like I don't have a degree in it because it's not at all like what I thought I was going to end up doing, but here I am. Here I am.
Yeah. And so we covered are we enrolled in ANS? We don't know.
We don't know.
Well,
I think we can definitively say that we are in ANS. Or you're in ANS. I'm not in anything anymore. I'm done with it.
Being that you're not at the school
over
anymore.
It.
Do you remember the time that semester when Julie had advised a lot of us to take 4 English classes all at once?
I do. What were the 4 English classes? It was
so Survey 2 of American Literature.
It was
Milton.
And it was that class with Inez, World Literature. Yeah.
And then Adolescent Literature.
Yeah. And the Adolescent Literature class, I remember, was like super late, I think. Wasn't that like an evening class?
Yeah, from like, I think it was 7:30 to 9:50.
Yeah. It was like
that was the official time.
That was the official time. I feel like most professors that were in that time slot, I think there actually might have been one time that I had that time slot that the professor would like always go to the last minute, but most professors are mindful of the fact that students do not want to be there until 9:50, and they kind of tailor like what they're doing to make sure that they don't have to stay there until 9:50. But even just having a class at like 7:30 or 7:20 or whatever is a bummer.
Yeah. And I think like that was a tough semester.
That was a super tough semester.
Read like 3 or 4 things at a time.
Yeah. And I mean, when I'm just like leisurely reading on my own, it's really, I know some people read multiple books when they're independently reading, but for me, like I have to really, if I want to enjoy a book, I have to just sit down with the one book and read the book. Yeah. So like,
I used to do that. Yeah. Reading multiple books at once because like I would.
Yeah. I think I used to be able to do that when I was younger, and now that I'm 23 and old, right? I'm just old as fuck. My brain is just going, and I can't do that for whatever reason.
Let's see. You read all of Paradise Lost.
I did. I feel like not a lot of people can say that they read every single book that is assigned to them in college, and I certainly can't say I read every single book that was assigned to me in college, but I read all of Paradise Lost. Even when I fell behind, I would catch up on what I had missed, and no one can take that away from me.
Yeah. And let's see, we got into a thing about sending me pickles.
I don't know. Yeah, how did that come up? Was it?
Because I think we started talking about Paradise Lost because we read it in Milton, taught by Mark Blackwell.
Yes, and
when Mark was on the show,
he talked about this.
We came up with the idea that I would start a podcast network, and which includes a spin-off show about pickles.
That would be like the oddly specific podcast that I would be like, I don't know if I have any general knowledge or interest in that subject, so let's avoid.
But Benson is hosting it.
But Benson is hosting it, and he does have the nice talk show radio voice, so it's weighing the pros and cons of the podcast.
I think we settled on, like, if I were to do an actual show about pickles, it would be like the episode to be like a minute long. Because it would be like intro music, introduce the guest, ask them, do you like pickles? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Outro music.
See you guys next week.
Pickle crunch.
I like that. The audio at the end. Pickle crunch.
And I think, and then we joked that like I would edit in a pickle crunch into the episode that we were on.
Yeah, we could do that with this one. Just put one right here. Put one right here. Right here. And right there.
I would have to
Boys.
so I can be like record myself eating a pickle, getting that crunch.
That nice crunch.
So I can be like Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Yeah. The next thing on our list, the Beach Boys vegetables featuring Paul McCartney on celery. Because
the Beach Boys were recording a song called Vegetables.
Very good.
And then like Paul McCartney swung by. He's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" He's like, "Do you want me to do anything?" And then I guess Brian Wilson just thought, "Do you want to chew on a stalk of celery? Can you so we can record it? You chewing on celery." So for that song, Paul McCartney from the Beatles is officially credited as playing celery.
I love that. As the celery chewer. Not even like credited as eating the celery, but as playing it as an
Is celery an instrument?
Is celery an instrument? It's so good to be teaching and to see young people still quoting SpongeBob. Even the older episodes, because I know they're still making it. Yeah. So I'm sure there's new SpongeBob materials, but the old stuff just sticks.
Sticks of celery.
Celery sticks. Very nice. Benson's
I'm surprised I didn't make that joke the first time we were celery.
I know.
Apparently, yes.
That's a really good one. Benson's podcast network.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's the next item on the list.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because we were talking about me making a podcast network, including like say the Pickle Show, but also like a show about this show.
Yeah, the podcast about the podcast featuring Benson Ty with Benson Ty.
I came up with the idea about another show that's about this show, where I like run through the catalog of episodes, grab whoever was on that episode, have them record another episode with me, reviewing the episode they were on.
And I guess that's just kind of what we're doing right now. This is like the first episode of the podcast about the podcast with Benson Ty.
With Benson Ty.
Yeah.
This is the backdoor pilot for the podcast about the podcast with Benson Ty with Benson Ty.
It's all happening here. It's brewing. It's brewing here.
And then I'd make another show about that show, go one level deeper, so that it's the podcast about the podcast about the podcast with Benson Ty with Benson Ty with Benson Ty.
It's all with Benson Ty.
For those listening, I just saw Sam almost spit out her drink.
Well, I went to take a drink or a sip of it, and then I couldn't because I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to laugh it out." Spit it back into the cup. I don't want that.
I have to say that was one of my favorite moments from the first time you were on, and now it's totally gonna fall flat because you had to be there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to release that recording because I don't want it to like hurt people's ears. But
it's lost media, which I love about it.
But and then I would start other I would do stuff where like I get a call, but it's me from the other show giving producer notes.
Yeah. You would need Benson Ty giving the podcast with Benson Ty across like different planes of reality where you're just able to like phone into this reality to call yourself and direct while you host the podcast.
And then that other me gets a call from another me.
This is just like Inception.
Wait, have you seen Inception since we last talked?
I actually have not. Did we talk about Inception last time?
Because I said something about how like it's like each time like I go into another level deep of show, it's like Inception, and like I guess in order to actually officially end the show, I would have to Inception kick through, like sign off on each level until it reaches back up to the first level of the normal level of the show, I guess you could say, so that I could actually end it.
We can call this normal, if one could say that. I don't know what the next thing on our list is.
Anechoic chambers, the rooms were like the quietest rooms ever, where you can like.
Oh yeah. Those are kind of fucked.
Which that stems from you. I think you were saying something about like at that point it's not even a show anymore. It's like a recording of me like talking to myself, absolutely losing my mind.
Yeah, no, people who like those noise isolation chambers. I think I read once that like, I don't know, the person who has been in one of those for the longest amount of time was not in there for very long before like he had to be like, before he was like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I think I've heard of a guy who was in there for like an hour, at least an hour.
Yeah, but like even then, like, that's not a very long time to just be sitting around. But when it's like that quiet and you have like nothing, that must be grueling.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're an hour and a half into the show.
We're not done
with the first page.
I didn't realize how fucking extensive our list was.
I played around with the margins and the paragraph spacing so that this only fit on 2 full pages. We're not even done with the first page.
Yeah.
You saw Cats.
I did see Cats. That may have been one of my last like outings before the pandemic, which is a crying shame that was like one of the last things I got to do.
I think you went to see Cats with some friends of yours to like make fun of it.
Yeah, we went to see Cats to make fun of it, and I don't know if I mentioned last time, but we ended up being like the only people who were in the movie theater because not the whole movie theater, but in that specific cinema that was screening Cats, no one else wanted to fucking see Cats because everyone knew it was gonna be bad.
Yeah.
And it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like remarkably so.
Yeah, and I think like it definitely did not make its money back.
Oh no.
And we were trying to figure out, at least on the first time, we were wondering like what the budget was. Mm-hmm. It was $80 to $100 million, and it made $75.5 million.
Yeah.
So it didn't even break even.
Sad. I mean, that's about like what it deserves. It doesn't really deserve to break even. Someone deserves to lose their money on that. That's a risk that they took.
Especially Tom Hooper, writer, producer, director of Cats.
Who I noted here, or you noted rather, but I guess based off what I must have said, Tom Hooper should have fired himself as director. Yeah, because
if you're a producer, you're like technically speaking the most important person on the production. Like you're the person who hires directors and like some other like important crew. Mm-hmm. He should have fired himself.
He should have taken it upon himself to just be like,
fire himself.
You know what? Done
Thomas, please take it upon yourself,
Mr. Hooper,
to let yourself go, please.
Not that many people listen to the show. Or were we talking about this show?
Oh yeah, the next item on the list is not that many people listen to this show.
Is that still
true?
And
I suppose after this episode posts, even fewer people will.
Really?
Will be listening to this.
Did it have like a stronger beginning?
Oh no, so far, I have a feeling this is not going to appeal to a lot of people. Us reviewing the episode you're on, then they will not have heard.
Yeah. I wonder if we should. I mean, we still have so much that we haven't gone through. I wonder if we should like annex some of them, or I don't know.
You mean you want to like lightning round?
A lightning round, like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. So, let's just go through it.
Okay, let's fucking go.
I saw a movie called The Gentleman, directed by Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie. I don't fucking know who that is.
This movie had Charlie Hunnam, Matt McConaughey, and a bunch of other people in it, and it was like a cool gangster film. But yeah. And there was a thing about where Charlie Hunnam's chasing some kid who had video of him throwing some kid off a balcony.
Wow.
And then he finds him, and then like he has his gang behind him. He's like, "Kid, I don't want to steal your phone. I want to buy it. Here's some money. Just
give me your phone.
Let me have the phone. You have some sensitive information on there." It's like, "Well, fuck off, bruv," or whatever. And then Charlie Hunnam is like, exasperated. Now he gone and done it. It turns out he's been holding a submachine gun the whole time he's been chasing him on his hip, hidden by a trench coat. And he's like, pulls it out, shoots it in the air so that they run away.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I did a Paul Giamatti impression of him going, "You goddamn motherfuckers."
Nice. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Guy Ritchie.
Okay. Middle school kids fighting.
I don't know what particular fight I was referencing.
Oh no, like because of we were saying like middle schools are basically Guy Ritchie movies.
That's so funny to me based off like what you just described of that movie. I'm just like, I guess middle school's like that, where a guy just pulls a machine gun out of his trench coat.
Or no, like kids filming other kids fighting, or there's stuff happening like that.
Yeah, okay. That makes more sense than what I was thinking. I was like, did we conclude that middle school is similar to when people pull machine guns out of their coats? Did we say that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. I didn't know.
Okay, so my fieldwork placement at the time, because this happened at a time I was taking the special education course.
Yeah.
And like I so did not want to have my placement on a Friday because I spent like a year driving to and from 5 days a week. So I was like, no.
Yeah.
But then like there was trouble placing me, and then the person put me in on Fridays, and it was for a 4-hour block instead of 2.5 hours. I'm like, and I didn't question it because I was just happy I got placed. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's always such a disaster to get placed.
Yeah, and the thing is, you would think for that class for special education, I would be placed in either an English course because that's my area of study.
I remember they had not placed you in an English course.
Yeah. So either an English course or a special education course because it's a course about special education. They put me in a history course.
They're just like, fuck it. Fucking put it in a history course.
Yeah. And then there was like a law passed during that time that complicated the logistics of placing kids in schools for their field work.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah. So like after a few weeks of doing it, they said, "Okay, fieldwork's canceled." And I felt like if it had been canceled after I've done a week of it, I'd be like, "Okay, whatever."
But you had done a lot at that point.
And if it were canceled near like the end, like I was mostly through the semester, but I mean, it would have felt like, okay, yeah, but I'd have all this experience that I've done in the field work. It was cut off at a time during which it felt like I haven't done enough for this to be valuable.
Yeah.
And also, I wasted all that time.
Yeah, it's like that weird middle ground. Like, I haven't like built a solid, I don't know, I haven't done anything meaningful here. But I also have been going for enough time that, I've been wasting my Friday. I don't want to say waste, but
I was wasting my Friday, guys.
One could say wasting their Fridays if we could look at it.
Yeah.
Like
and I think next thing we talked about dispositional interviews and how you didn't have to do them.
It didn't.
Even though I had to.
It was weird. Well, I feel like I don't know what other education programs are like, and I don't know. I feel like this year I can't even really judge what education programs may look like because everything is all over the place. But I feel like with UHARD's education program, there was like everything would kind of change from year to year or even semester to semester. Like the requirements would be different based off something that like the university was doing, or if it wasn't the university, it would be something with the actual like public schools, or it would be something with the state. So there's just always like something different. So I don't even remember, because we had them scheduled and then they got rescheduled for whatever reason. I don't know why. They didn't tell us, and they just never
happened.
They never actually got rescheduled. They told us that they would be rescheduling them, and then that was the last thing we ever heard about them. So I was like, okay, cool, great. One last thing to do.
Okay, so after this, I didn't exactly know what to say, so we ended up having a staring contest for a little bit.
Nice. Do you remember?
And in my mind, I thought to myself, I should say we're having a staring contest on the recording, and then you said, "Are we having a staring contest?"
Nice. Do you remember who won our staring contest when it was?
I don't think
was there
anyone actually won, because like the staring contest fell apart once we acknowledged it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's different. I feel like we could try to have one right now, but it's different through Zoom. The intensity isn't there. It's what you need for a staring contest.
Okay. I think and then after this point, we had considered ending the podcast. Mm-hmm. And I was asking you, like, what if you have anything to do later? And you said no, aside from like your friend wanting you to join her going to the bar.
Yeah. I think I went to the bar that day. I think I went for like an hour, and then I was like, bye. I'm not staying here.
Because you don't particularly like bars.
Yeah.
I also don't particularly like bars because I don't drink.
Yeah, so one would not expect to find a non-drinker out at a bar. I feel like
I think you said something about barcades.
Barcades are fun. Barcades are fun. Good.
Because they have like drinks named Pikachu.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been to, I think, only like 2 different barcades, and one of them was more of like a retro style one where all the games that they had were like
Pac-Man, Donkey Kong.
Yeah, Donkey Kong, like pinball, Pac-Man, Dig Dug, stuff like that. And then I went to like another barcade more recently, obviously not super recently because I'm not going to bars right now. I know some people are. I am not. Not I. But this not I. But this other barcade was like the game. They had like different consoles. Like they had PlayStations and Xboxes, and you could like ask to play certain games on the consoles. But yeah, they had drinks that were like named after different like video game, I guess, icons or video games themselves, and one of them was, I don't think it was just named Pikachu. I think there was maybe hopefully something like more witty to it, as there normally is, like with these bar drinks, these like specialty drinks. But the only part I can remember is that like it's a yellow alcoholic beverage and it's named after Pikachu. Cheers.
And like apparently you visited one where the drink menu said at the bottom, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, that was not a barcade. That was just I don't even remember like what bar that was or if there was anything like special about that bar, but I remember browsing the menu and just looking all. There was something special about that bar, the fact that they have this very important message on their menu.
This bar has an agenda.
Yeah, this bar has a conspiracy theory to offer us, and I'm buying it. I'll order one. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, and so I don't go to bars, but the times that I have were to like visit a friend who worked at a bar, and like I would drink water.
Yeah,
because I don't enjoy alcohol.
Yeah,
and like I would still tip the bartender even though I'm drinking water.
That's nice. I mean, they still, took time to, I guess, get you water. It's not the same as making a like mixed drink or anything. But
hey, Benson, what you drinking there? The best drink ever.
It is water. Hydrates you. We love her. She's our gal. Water.
Where are my hydro homies at?
This is actually, I like exclusively really hydrate with seltzer water.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't particularly like seltzer water.
I love seltzer. Not just like plain unflavored, like carbonated water, but like.
Oh, because even the ones that do have flavoring in them, like the sparkling kind of water with like the San Pellegrino or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like them because
I love them. I love them because I'm like old and boring. Like I feel like that's such like a boring thing. Like you're old and boring and like a fart when you're really into like seltzer water, and I'm really into seltzer water, so I'm there. The mark of being in your 20s is being on a podcast, and the mark of being like an old, washed up hag is really liking seltzer. And I really like seltzer.
It's like, to me, there's enough that I guess I have an idea of the taste of that flavoring, but there's not enough for it to be enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's always like a very faint flavor. It's like, I can kind of taste you. I know you're there, but not as much as I want you to be.
Wait, hold on. Those are the opening lyrics to the next song I'm going to write. I can kind of taste you.
You're almost there.
You're almost there. That's gonna. Oh god, that sounds so dirty.
I know. I was kind of thinking. I was like, if one were to like just take that out of context, that doesn't really sound like we're talking about seltzer or even like a non-tangible.
Sam, we're not in the same room.
We're not in the same
room. But we're
room.
meeting each other over the internet.
Yes.
I can kind of taste you.
You're almost there.
We're almost there.
We're almost there.
Okay. The going out to get laid guys at bars, fuck them. Not fuck them as in have sex with them, but fuck them as in
what they want. Yeah. I feel like those people are like all still going to bars. Like those people have like as long as the bars are open, they're still there.
Yeah. Fuck them as in disregard them as in
disregard
they're bad people.
Them completely. Yeah, bars
please don't get your dogs drunk.
Yeah, I don't know how that became a topic that we brought up.
Like, I think we were saying something about like you can get drunk at home.
With your dog. Yeah. But don't actually get drunk with your dog.
Because he's my best friend. You get
my
drunk
only
together.
Friend. I know people will think that if they drink with their dog, they're like not an alcoholic for like drinking alone. Sorry, that was not nice to say.
Hold on. In this scenario, the marker for alcoholism is whether you're with other people.
No. Well, I feel like
whether you're alone, you mean?
Yeah, no. I feel like it's one thing to be going out with other people or to be having like a drink in other people's like company. And it's also another thing to like just have like a drink by yourself after work, which I will often do because kids are, I was going to say crazy, but I don't want to use that term given where I work. Is that like offensive to say like kids are crazy if I work in a mental hospital?
Kids are a lot to handle.
Kids are a lot to handle. So you might want like a little drinky poo to yourself when you get home from work. But I feel like there's like a brand of like especially if you're like a wine mom, people who just get like shit-faced.
Wine mom.
A wine mom? Are you like not familiar with like, you know, kind of like
I know I'm familiar with it. I've never heard the term wine mom.
Oh, I feel like that's as simply as one could put like this, as simply as one could like title this culture of like moms who have merchandise that say things like, I'm not drinking alone, I'm drinking with my dog is here, so it's not drinking alone. And it's like, no, Karen, you actually are getting like really drunk at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday alone, and your dog is in the house with you, but you are not doing anything together.
Yeah. Okay. I know we said we were going to do a lightning round through this, but
I feel like
we spend more time.
I feel like we just need to like cut the bit. I feel like the bit needs to get canceled. We have to cancel the bit.
Let's try to run through a bunch of things.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we could maybe like omit some of these lesser things.
Publicity for the podcast from PETA complaining about it.
That would be
because of the dogs getting drunk part.
Dear PETA, if you're listening to this, I will get a dog drunk as fuck. I do not care. Come for me.
I think you said something about like you write to PETA from multiple accounts complaining about the podcast.
Yeah, as like an elaborate scheme. So I'm saying right here on the podcast, fuck PETA, I will get a dog drunk. And then I'm going to self-sabotage in a way. I'm going to contact PETA about my own comments on this show for the sake of your podcast, Benson, to get you views.
And then you said something about how you be writing letters like, hey, PETA, as if it were a person.
Hi, PETA. How are you? Hey, PETA. What's up? Long time no talk.
Yeah. And so I offered the idea of us doing a podcast together called The Podcast with Benson.
Benson.
And you rolled your eyes real hard.
I didn't roll my eyes at the notion of us co-hosting a podcast. It's just that I hate how much we can make Ben Sam sound like Benson. I hate the pun. I hate the pun of it.
That's our ship name, Sam.
Our ship name, Ben Sam. It works perfect. Ben Sam.
Let's see. You make music with omnichords.
I still do, but omnichords are like, I don't know if I really like talked a lot about what they are in the last episode, but they're basically like synthesizers that are old as fuck. Like from the 1980s isn't old as fuck if you're like a person, but if for a piece of equipment, that's older. That's like an older piece of equipment. Yeah. And people like, they don't make them anymore. And a lot of people,
or at least not under the original brand of Suzuki.
Yeah. I don't think anyone makes them anymore.
Or they still make them, but they're just not, the official brand name for them is not Omnichord. It's called something else now.
I think it's a Q chord, but even then they haven't
Q-chord.
been.
Yeah, they got Q chords now.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still like in production per se.
I think they are. They are.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the thing with like the older omnichords is that, you know, the older omnichords definitely aren't in production. So if yours breaks and if you don't know how to fix an omnichord and so you don't know someone who really knows how to fix an omnichord, well, you might just have to go buy another old piece of equipment if you would like to replace it.
Or call up Suzuki and they'll be like, do you want a Q chord?
I would not want a Q chord. The Q chord is a very strange thing to me because I feel like most omnichord enthusiasts agree that it is like the lamest model of the omnichord.
Oh.
It doesn't, I think what a lot of people like about the omnichord is kind of like the like droning noise that it can make with the chords, and the Q chord doesn't have like that old timey kind of like retro thing to it. It doesn't make that noise. So fuck it. Fuck the Q chord. Yeah.
So next like topic. you use omnichords to make music, and apparently you were telling me that you release music under the moniker GOD.
Yes.
And you hadn't told me what it meant yet, but I was like,
when we first,
I was presuming that you only write songs about geodudes.
I forgot that was a point of conversation around.
I have to say, when I said you full on like got out of your seat,
and I was like, I'm done with this podcast. Fuck this podcast. I hate this podcast.
Like you couldn't take it. You like turned away, got out of your seat.
Honestly, even if that's a little infuriating of an idea, that's a good idea if you can churn out content about geodudes, which I don't think I can, but I think there's someone out there who could take that idea and run with it. So whoever out there, the listener, if you have a lot to say about geodudes.
Yeah. So like apparently your stage name is how you would think God would be spelled.
Yeah. The letters G-O-D. But I think when I first spelled it to you, you were like, Giody?
Giody?
Yeah. With that exact pronunciation. Giody. Which I almost like it better, but only when you say it like that. And most people wouldn't say it like that. So here we are. Giody.
All right. You had originally planned to major in music at the university, right?
Yeah. And I didn't. Yeah. End of conversation, and it didn't. Yeah. I planned to major in flute performance, and I had like the audition piece, and I had like worked through a good chunk of the audition pieces that I was doing, but it was just so much time that like I invested into just practicing. And I remember I even had like a private instructor at the time who basically told me that like I probably like would not be able to get in at the current rate I was going, even though I was spending like hours and hours after school every day practicing. And I was just like, I can't fathom this being my life, just like practicing and practicing. Yeah, because
you'd have to, in order to like actually major in music, you'd have to like eat, sleep, and breathe music.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I've met a few people who thought they were going to major in music, like that like they were intending to enter the music school. But then like they're overwhelmed by like how much preparation it takes just to get in.
Yeah.
And then they realize, oh, I guess I'm not ready. I'm not like actually, I didn't understand what it meant to actually. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people, like when they're first out or I guess they're not out of high school yet, but when they're first considering like what they want to do in college, and they're maybe someone who has done music as like an extracurricular in school or like a personal hobby, it never, or at least in my high school, like our musical ensembles weren't really like ever to such like a high stake where music like became my life in high school. Like I feel like it was a very big part of what I enjoyed in high school, but it wasn't like my whole entire life or like what I was able to primarily focus on. And I feel like a lot of people I know who majored in music were people who like went to performing arts like high schools. So they were kind of like already in that mode of like living and breathing and like always practicing music.
Yeah, because like my high school is just like a regular public high school or whatever. And you know, I know a lot of people who were, say, like in band all throughout high school. And it seemed like those people, some of them might want to like that they decide to like major in music in college, but like it didn't seem that important to them as they were doing music in high school. Like it was an extracurricular. It was a thing they happened to do, playing an instrument. And so it makes me think like all these people who suddenly decide on a whim to major in music because it seems like a thing they happen to do.
Yeah,
it's like you don't does that mean it was that important to you in the first place? Because you don't major in music because it's a thing you happen to do. You major in music because you've been eating, sleeping, breathing music for at least like half of your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, I do know people from high school who, like, I know a kid who like got into Berkeley in Boston. And even though like we were part of the same like program, we were in all the same like ensembles that our school had offered, or our school did offer at that time, but he just like I would go home and I would practice the band music and I would get it like good enough, but he would just be like teaching himself like different instruments like when he got home, or he would just like he would crank away at that shit. And that like that's like an example of, I guess, like someone who, you know, at this point in high school already was kind of eating and sleeping and breathing music, whereas for a lot of other people it was just kind of like, oh, this is my arts requirement, or like, like a hobby, just like something that they were happy to have a class period to be able to do.
Yeah. And like say with me, like I'm trying to minor in music, and it's not exactly a thing I try to put out there, but if I have a guitar class that day, you see me walking around with a guitar, but I knew, even though like my music is probably the most important thing to me. I started playing music when I was a senior in high school, so it's not, there was no feasible way for me to say study music in a formal capacity, or at least not to major in it, right? So like I knew that I didn't have what it took. Right?
You were like, I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to kid myself into thinking that.
Guys, I'm playing shitty guitar at 17. And like, I don't even know how to read music. So there's no way. But there's like now, I found a way to finagle myself into trying to do a minor where like you have a lower bar to hit. And I technically don't have to audition because I'm not going to register for any like ensemble classes.
Yeah. That's cool. So you can kind of almost like sneak your way in there.
Yeah, because it is important to me, and I like being challenged in order to eat, sleep, and breathe music. But I know like I didn't start early enough, or I didn't start early enough, and because of that, I wasn't able to put in enough work for me to be like a actual
that's the thing too. I feel like a lot of people who are in music school or music majors or professional musicians, they've been doing music like since they were like 5. Like a lot of people started really early, and if you didn't start really early, then you have to like crank away and like make up for all of that time.
Yeah, and like a year was not going to, well, a year or two wasn't going to cut it for me. So it was like, and let's see.
What else?
Benson is minoring in music and sucks at it.
We did that.
Guitar tabs.
We did, some music
like
stuff.
You must try to learn guitar, right?
Yeah, I did try to. I was borrowing a friend's guitar at one point and trying to learn a little guitar, and I feel like I got to like a basic level at it before my friend was like, "Hey, can I have my guitar back?" But I feel like I wasn't so engrossed in it or like really, I guess, like in love with it that I was like, I need to go get my own guitar and like continue doing this. But it was fun. It's fun to play around with different like instruments. But yeah, I never really learned like tabs, like tablature. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Guitar tablature, which I haven't either.
Yeah, it's all about the chords for me, baby. Like, like I know how to play some mean old chords. That's all I got. I can't do no finger picking, no funny business.
I decided to not learn tab when I first started because
I feel like I'm not going to do it.
The idea of tab seems weird to me. And also people tell me all the time, learning to actually read standard notation is not hard. So I might as well skip over tab and just learn to read standard notation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fuck it.
Yeah. And also, guitar is the easiest thing ever to learn.
Really?
There's a reason why every douche
there's a reason why any old douche can show up to any old party and play Wonderwall and call it a day.
All right. So, the next thing says Benson has tinnitus.
Mixing shit loudly.
Because I think you were talking about something about like being able to like sit somewhere, have the house be real quiet, just sit and like be tranquil, and I can't because I have tinnitus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I constantly just have a ringing in my ears. Yeah,
that sounds awful. And then it says mixing shit loudly next to it.
Yeah, because back when I was first starting up the podcast, I would turn it all the way up to mix because like I want to hear everything.
I want to hear every little like voice crackle, all the things.
I want to hear your heart beating through a microphone.
Now that goes back to that first point of having to have a website so people don't think that you're a serial killer.
I want to hear that cockroach crawling on your back.
We said that I have the loudest voice ever, which we hopefully...
Sam has the loudest voice ever, yeah.
We hopefully took care of that.
And then the next thing says, if the recording's bad, Sam will come back and we'll do another episode reenacting the first one.
We aren't really, I guess, per se. I guess if we were reenacting it, we would be acting as if these conversations were being had for the first time. But we are going back and like reviewing it. So the recording was bad. It did not come out. Def Jams?
So, I wanted to put out a record called Def Jams. Or start a band of deaf people called Def Jams. Or something.
Christ. Jesus. Just orchestrate like Like, you're not deaf, obviously, so it would just be you, like, orchestrating deaf people. It would be a little bizarre and maybe exploitative.
And I would hope that we get signed to Def Jam recordings.
That would be my wish. Old man yells at Leet Speak.
Oh yeah, that was you complaining about like kids and their texting abbreviations and shit.
Yeah, I think I was maybe referencing a time where a kid was like, a student that I had was quizzing me on like what different like acronyms meant. Yeah. And there were a lot that I knew, obviously, because there's the classics like LOL or LMAO that everyone knows. But then there was some like other stuff that she said that I like did not know. And it made me feel I'm 23, so I'm super old and dying, right? But I'm not that super old.
I feel, Sam. I'm older than you.
Oh, damn. We're fucking dying, Benson. This is it. But yeah, I was just like, I'm not that old. Like, I don't understand like what conversations they're having or like what forums they're on where like I'm not up to par with the leet speak that they have. It's weird, I think, being like a young teacher and having young students who you like, you're not so far apart in age that you're not completely out of touch with what is going on with kids, but it's weird when there is something that you're like, oh, I have no clue like what you're talking about right now. Like it's weird to have those moments where you're like, I don't know what the young people are really into.
Them and their newfangled
their whatever, their discords and their whatever the fuck
Twitches and
their Twitches. I mean, I know all of those things, maybe not so well as in like I use those services myself, but I at least know what they are. But I'm sure there will come a time where a kid will bring up like a social media platform and it will just be like totally foreign to me. I'll be like, what? And that will be difficult.
Right. Then there was something about a kid getting black Air Force Ones.
Yeah, because I guess a moment where I felt like out of touch with younger people was not realizing that like black Air Force Ones are meant to symbolize like gang activity or just like badass behavior, like people who don't fuck around wear black Air Force Ones. Specifically black Air Force One. So a kid, I was trying to like, I think it was kind of in the first few weeks of my student teaching where I was still trying to like really get to know the kids. And I was just like asking a kid what was up. And he said he was getting new shoes. And I was like, that's awesome. What kind of shoes are you getting? And he was like, I'm getting black Air Force Ones. And I was like, cool. That's great. And a bunch of other like kids who were kind of eavesdropping on our conversation were like, no, ma'am, like you don't know what he's talking about. He's getting the black Air Force Ones. And I was like, what? Like, okay, I don't understand what that means. And then like I went home and I was like looking up like what is up with black Air Force Ones. And I guess like on Twitter and stuff, people like use black Air Force Ones to like symbolize someone who is like a not a do-gooder or a good doer.
This is them gang shoes.
Yeah, it's like gang shoes. And I was like, oh, I didn't know.
Yo, those shoes are gangster.
Yeah, so if you see someone with black Air Force Ones, you might not want to mess with them. Even if they're maybe, this was an 8th grader, so I don't know that they are necessarily like a threat to be a force.
Even if they get them at Payless Shoe Source.
Which is it went bankrupt. That's on our list.
They filed for bankruptcy in like around the time when we were talking about this.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say that I don't think I knew about it at the time, like when we talked about it. Because even when I went back and looked at this list, I was like, oh, I didn't remember that like Payless went out of business. Like that's how significant Payless was to me, I guess.
Well, Sam, if you had listened back to the thing,
I know. Well, like I said, there were a few reasons why I was like, I'm gonna skip listening to the thing and just look at this list.
Which, by the way, it turns out Payless is like back now.
Oh,
but most of their operations are online.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I wonder if I feel like there might be like a few different stores that we kind of start to see that happen with, not even like necessarily through any fault of their business, but just the fact that that is kind of how people are consuming things more often nowadays is through the internet. Like it's so much more convenient to, especially like in the age of the pandemic, like we are ordering shit online. We are not talking to people if we do not need to talk to people. That shit is just getting delivered to my doorstep.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of almost like the move to make.
Yeah. I mean, there's still like a few physical locations I've seen.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But like, but the most of their operations now are online.
Yeah. Huh.
All right.
Who knew?
So, you were wondering about how memes are going to move.
Memes are, yeah. Meme culture is just weird. I think I mentioned a specific meme, book heading out. And it was just a picture of like a book in a pair of shoes, like not drawn, like a real book in a real pair of shoes. And the caption just said book heading out. And that was comedy. And that's like a meme. And it almost feels like, I don't know, it feels like nowadays we refer to anything that is like a picture on the internet or something that is a joke on the internet as a meme. And I feel like that's not like originally like what a meme was, but it now feels almost just like if it's funny on the internet, well, it's a meme. There it is.
Which, by the way, I think after I informed you that your episode wasn't going to go up because I recorded it poorly.
Mm-hmm.
I gave you my phone number in case you wanted to contact me or send me book heading out memes.
Oh, did I not send book heading out?
And also, I've been searching for book heading out memes. I can't find any of them.
I don't know if I have it saved because I will send it to you like right now
because I don't know if maybe I'm not looking.
You definitely can't just look up book heading out and find it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a meme in that. Because what I was kind of saying, I guess, is I feel like originally the nature of a meme was like to be reproduced in like that same format of joke, I guess. And now meme kind of just refers to anything that is like a funny picture that you see online. And that is kind of like what this is just like a funny picture that I saw online. I'm trying to see if I still have it saved on my, or I don't even know if I ever had it saved on my phone, but I'm trying to see if it is there. But I don't know. If I didn't send it to you, it wasn't because I didn't want you to see it, because I do want you to see it. Trust me, Benson, I would really like for you to see book heading out. Hold on. I'm wondering if I saw it on Twitter and if I saved it in my Twitter feed or my Twitter like folder. No, it's not there. All right. Book heading out is canceled.
Okay. All right. Let's. I think we're halfway down the page.
Yeah, we're very close to.
All right. So you enjoyed Canadian accents, including Chuck's.
Chuck's is it? Yeah. I mean, I feel like there was a time where I wasn't super aware of people's, like the different ways that people spoke, I guess. Like if they didn't have a super thick accent, I was kind of just like, yeah, we all talk more or less the same. But like with Chuck, and what I guess I noticed about like specifically people who have stronger Canadian accents is when they say things like sorry, like Chuck will always say like sorry, like it's elongated like that, like sorry instead of just sorry.
Or a boot.
Yeah, a boot is one that I always like. That is always kind of like the stereotypical one that you would hear about Canadians, but I feel like I noticed the way that Canadian people say sorry quicker than I noticed a real life Canadian person saying the word about. But I feel like I wonder if Canadian people are insecure about saying these words around us dirty
I think
Americans.
You had said something about how you didn't believe Canadians actually said a boot because you thought that was like a fictionalization or something like that.
I thought it was kind of just like a thing that people said, and because I had listened to like Canadian people, like Chuck was not the first Canadian person I ever met. But I feel like he was the first Canadian person I ever met who like had that accent that I had heard about. And I was like, oh shit, I guess people really
do say a boot.
Yeah, I guess they do say a boot and sorry and and all these like weird things that I guess it's not a myth about Canadians.
Yeah. Okay. And you don't know Canadian geography because you thought Toronto was where Vancouver is.
Yeah. I thought it was like on the west coast, like over there, and it's not. It's more kind of like, I guess, above us, this side.
Toronto has the same time zone as us.
Okay, so yeah. See, I didn't know that. So Chuck's in the same time zone as us, even if he's not at school. Shout out.
Yeah.
Chuck over there.
Shout out to Chuck.
Shout out Chuck.
You suck at French.
Yeah, I took French in high school. I mean, I feel like anyone who knows a language based off what they were exposed to in high school, like, you don't know that language. Like, people who take like high school Spanish for 3 years and then will say that they speak Spanish, and it's like, no, you don't. You took high school Spanish, and unfortunately the American education system, particularly pertaining to the teaching of foreign languages, like, you did not learn Spanish.
Dude, I took Spanish from 7th grade on until culminating in a college Spanish course I took as a senior.
Wow.
Or not as a senior, as a junior.
Wow.
I do not speak Spanish.
Benson is not fluent in Spanish. I am
not fluent in Spanish, guys.
I don't know what it is. It's really hard. I feel like for Americans specifically to like learn languages, because I feel like in so many other countries. Because America, speak English.
America, we speak English here.
I speak American. But yeah, well, I feel like in a lot of other countries, the way that they teach different languages to children is that they start super young. And I feel like, 7th grade isn't like super old, but it's still kind of, you've already established like the known rules of the language that you speak. And it's kind of, at that point, harder to really grasp all the different rules and the way that you have to like make your mouth move. At that point, so it's just hard to like truly become fluent in a language at a certain point.
Younger children have greater neuroplasticity. They are able to pick things up quicker.
Yeah, and I think too, something that I've heard, like, not only that they can like pick up the language quicker, but when you're younger, you're capable of like making all of these different noises that are needed for different languages. Yeah. But as you get older, you're not as capable of making like all of those different.
Or you're just shy.
You're just shy. Yeah. What else?
Mark Twain.
Is he famous? Is he dead? Yeah, I had a kid.
Because you were like asking your students were asking you like, who's Mark Twain?
Yeah, I like brought him up, and it was interesting because obviously I was student teaching in Connecticut, and Mark Twain lived in Connecticut, in Hartford. And so I feel like that's kind of like Connecticut's almost like claim to fame, or one of them at least, is that like Mark Twain lived here and he really liked it. So when I brought up that I like work at the Mark Twain house, and they were kind of like, well, who is Mark Twain? And I was like, oh, he's a famous author and he lived in Hartford. And they were like, oh, is he still alive? Is he dead? I'm like, yes, he has been dead.
He has been dead.
He has been dead for a good while. A good long while.
A good long while.
A while.
He's been dead.
Dead.
Dead. And
cannibals in cars.
No, wait, hold on. I think right after Mark Twain, we were talking about Mark Twain.
Yeah, of course.
And how his real name is Samuel Langhorne Clemens.
Yes.
And he's not even famous for being named Sam.
No.
And you said something about he wrote a story about his friend Samuel Colt, or referencing Samuel Colt?
Yeah, he referenced Samuel Colt. I mean, not Samuel Colt specifically, but he had a character who was employed as a worker at the Colt factory. Yeah. So he was kind of like writing a story that was in Connecticut and based like in, things that were actually really in Connecticut. One of those being Samuel Colt, the gun manufacturer. The guy.
Yeah, the guy who designed and manufactured the Colt pistol.
Yes, that man.
I can just picture Mark Twain like, man, Sam's gonna flip out when he reads this.
Yeah, right. Like, imagine if your friend was a super famous author and you just like were reading their book one day and you're like, oh frick, he mentioned my factory. That's pretty cool. Thanks, guy.
Shouts out to me.
Yeah, right? I would love to be like referenced in someone's like literary works.
Yeah.
Even if it was only like my workplace.
Then you said something about your humble onion.
My humble onion, yes. And my humble onion, as opposed to my opinion.
Because
used interchangeably with my
because
opinion.
An onion is an opinion minus pie.
Minus pie. Is that something that we brought up? Was that a conversation? Minus pie.
I was the one who noted that, but it seems like you that's like a joke you have with your friends or something. You just say in your onion, in your humble.
Yeah, I don't
onion.
even know like how that started. It like I feel like you would think that it came from just like a misspelling of the word opinion via like text communication, but I feel like the first time I ever heard it was just someone verbally saying my humble onion, and I was like, holy shit, but like that's awesome. And like when people say it, I feel like it's funny because like when you say it, you know what they mean, but it's just like, oh, you said onion there instead of like I know you meant. Like, given the context of the situation, I know you meant your humble opinion, but you just said onion. So it's just kind of, it's a fun little thing to throw in the mix, I feel.
Do you still say that, like, and then, like, other people are confused because they don't know about this?
I think I've said it to, like, my students before. I think I've been talking, and I think I've said, like, in my humble onion, and then I've been, like, opinion, and they were just kind of like, okay. It's hard to get a reaction out of my students sometimes, because some of them, you know, are just so depressed, but that they wouldn't even notice that you said onion. But it wasn't like a thing that I had to go into detail explaining.
Yeah.
But so, they were exposed to my humble onion, of course.
My favorite book happens to be Huckleberry Finn.
Yes. Half of your Mark Twain collection is Huck Finn.
Yeah, because I always wanted to have a copy of Huck Finn of my own. Yeah. Like I read it. The first time I read Huck Finn, it was for school.
Yeah.
And of course, I had to give the copy back. But so I always wanted to have my own copy, and I found one. And then there was a time when I was I decided I would raid every library thrift store, like within a 25-mile radius of my home. And during that, I kept finding different editions of Huck Finn.
Yeah.
And so I decided, okay, I guess I'll get all these. And I'll have like upwards of 6 different editions of Huck Finn.
That's so cool, though.
Which constitutes about half of my collection of works by Mark Twain. And so
just multiple copies.
I've read half of my Mark Twain collection, but they're all Huck Finn.
But it's all Huck Finn. That's the classic. That's all you need. I mean, there are other good works by Mark Twain, but that is kind of like the essential reading list, I guess, is Huck Finn, maybe Tom Sawyer.
Yeah. And I think you said something about there's a Mark Twain story that's about cannibals, right?
Yeah, there's a Mark Twain short story. His short stories are like pretty funny. And they're good for, I don't know, I feel like for a lot of people, it's hard to read Mark Twain because they have to kind of get through that like jargon that he uses. And so if you are having... Or
the vernacular of the time.
Yeah. So I feel like some people, it's just harder for them to like get through a full novel written by Mark Twain with that kind of language. But it's easier when it's, you know, not such like a great work. But yeah, he has like one short story about just like a man who goes on a rant about like getting stuck. There's like a train that crashes in like the snow, and they're all just like stuck in the cars of the train for several days, or like I think it becomes like weeks, and they end up having to you know, do what they need to do to survive if you were trapped in a car train in the snow and no one could contact or go get anybody for help. So the story is titled, I didn't even remember that it was titled this, but it has some beautiful alliteration, Cannibals in Cars Getting Californians. Or is that the title?
That was the thing I came up with.
Okay.
Because when you were telling me about this Mark Twain short story, I decided to run with it and say, I want to start a show called Cannibals and Cars Getting Californians.
Okay. So the Mark Twain title of the story, I don't remember what it is. It is not Cannibals and Cars Getting Californians. I looked at that and I was like, that could be a title for a literary work, but it could also be a title for what Benson was saying.
It could be the title of a spin-off show of Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, but this one is called Cannibals and Cars Getting Californians. Yes. Executive produced by me and Jerry Seinfeld.
But you call the shots, really. Jerry Seinfeld can fucking
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, fuck. It's like one of those. He's like one of those people who I don't know. Like I didn't watch the show, and I don't feel like I ever talk about him. So I don't know. When I see the logo in my head, it's just kind of like those words that you read. And you read it to yourself, but you've never said it out loud. Not that I haven't said Seinfeld before out loud, but it just doesn't come naturally to me.
So you misplaced the I, so it's Senfield.
Sinfield. Jerry Sinner. Jerry Sinfield.
Yeah. In the future, if anyone sees Cannibals and Cars Getting Californians,
it started here.
It started here. I mean, not started here, but it started in February 2020.
Sure. It started long ago, and if anyone touches this idea, you will get sued for everything you've got.
And I think I after that I noted this is the greatest production meeting I've ever had.
Yeah, we came up with like a lot of different ideas, like the podcast within the podcast within the podcast.
The podcast about the podcast with Benson Ty.
So we have that, and then we had the Cannibals and Cars Getting Californians. So,
and like the thing about getting PETA to complain about me, so I get more exposure.
We have a lot of like publicity and programming ideas.
Yeah. And then we got into a thing about Sam I Am.
Just because my name is Sam?
Yep. Okay.
Nice.
And then
Dr.
the water bottle I brought for you did not have a label on it. Because I think I grabbed it for a different session that ended up having to get canceled. And then I was thinking, well, I guess I'll use this for Sam. I'll bring it for Sam. And it was just like I grabbed it from the pack and the label just fell off. Like it was like the adhesive machine had one job and it
ruined everything.
Yep. And next thing is about me trying to find you to talk to you so that I could get you on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you so much like stalked me because we had the same classes as each other. So I don't think you had to go through great efforts. It was kind of like a bit of a scheduling mess.
Yeah, but it was a matter of like we would have Shakespeare together. And then you would leave immediately. Yeah. While I spent like a minute and a half gathering all my shit.
Yeah, I don't dilly-dally.
And then I would walk outside of the classroom and try to see where you went.
Where did I go?
Where you went. And and I remember there was a day when I was trying to do that, trying to find you, trying to pack up my shit as quickly as possible so I could catch up to you. And then I didn't know, I wasn't fast enough to see where you went. And then so I was going to walk over to the music building for my guitar class. And then I saw you walking in front of GSU. I'm like, there she is.
There I went.
And there you went. And then I figured I would approach you to talk about the podcast.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Well,
there we were in February. And now here we are.
In December. On the last day of December, no less.
Oh, yeah. It's New Year's Eve, guys. We're doing this on New Year's Eve.
Yes. Happy New Year's, everybody. I'm sure it will.
December 31st, 2020.
It will not be New Year's when you hear this. There is no way. There is no feasible way that you would hear this on New Year's.
Yeah. And then, Dr. Dan from Shakespeare.
Yeah. Were we just talking about like this Yeah, Dr. Dan was this old, like he was old, like in
like
his late 90s. Like
a retired doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Dan, and he was in our Shakespeare class, and he was there, like he was not in pursuit of any additional degrees. I mean, because he was a fucking doctor.
He was auditing.
He was just chilling. I think the first day he said he was there because he was curious, and then he proceeded to like roast like young people, and he was like, young people don't know what Gone with the Wind is. You don't know how to balance a checkbook. You do not know how to write in cursive. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't? No one told me that I didn't know how to do those things until now.
Well, we both know how to write in cursive.
We both know. I think we discussed, I don't know necessarily if one has a need to, per se, like balance a checkbook in these modern times. So I get I get what he means by that, but it's like, why would I need to worry about doing that when I have no need to? Like, we don't know how to do that because there's simply no real need for it anymore. As for Gone with the Wind, like, I've read Gone with the Wind, or have I read Gone with the Wind? I don't know. Negligible. I know I haven't. I know I haven't. I think he didn't even assert that like young people hadn't read it. He asserted that young people just did not know what Gone with the Wind is. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I can say that I've like entirely read Gone with the Wind, but I know what Gone with the Wind is, and you cannot tell me that. Yeah, and it's racist. So I'm not entirely concerned with like reading up on it. And
also we know how to write in cursive.
So I got that.
Just we don't need to, we don't use it unless we're doing signatures.
Yeah. And this says dick signatures on the list.
You got into a thing about like signing with a dick.
Yeah, no, because I worked at an ice cream shop, I think like my sophomore year of college, and I remember we had like one of those like touch screen devices where people would like slide their credit card, and then you can pick a tip to add to it on the touch screen, and you could also like, you have to do your signature on the touch screen, and so many people would just like draw like X's for their signature or like smiley faces. But I remember like one day a guy just came in and he was like, a dick. That's my signature. A dick.
And then that got me wondering about, is there a situation where you can legit use a dick as your signature?
I mean,
like if your name's Richard.
Obviously, like when you're doing a transaction at an ice cream store, it doesn't fucking matter what your signature is. But on legal documents, I wonder if there's like a way that you could create a dick with letters and you could justify like, no, this is my signature and those are my initials. And this is what my signature looks like, and you're going to have to deal with it.
That is my name. It's
my name. That's me. I don't know what letters.
My name. It's the number 8.
And how do you make it on a keyboard? 8 like equals a bunch of like the equal signs and D.
Capital D, and then a bunch of tilde.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, the other.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Actually, tildes go over ends, but this is the one that like the approximate sign. Just those.
Yeah.
A bunch of those at the end after the D.
For you know what. For you know what that is. All the kids at home, draw it on your keyboard. Type one right now. If you're listening to this, type a dick on your keyboard right now.
I'm gonna type one to Sam right now.
Great. Bring it on. Send it.
Okay, there we go.
There it is. Just like I remember it. Back in the good old days. What simpler times this brings me to.
Yeah. And okay, so last few things. Back when we recorded that episode, it went on so long. We talked about so many things.
Yeah.
And I usually write in the show notes, like I try to pick out a few things that we talked about to put in the show notes.
Things.
But like I would have to I want to include enough things that it covers like the majority of what we talked about. So it would have to be like 10 things.
Yeah, we have like this list obviously is more than 10 things. These topics, way more than 10 topics.
And then I was talking about how like that was the longest thing I'd done up until that point. We went on for about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Have you had a longer podcast since then?
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just asking if you had like longer recording sessions since then, or if that remains like the top tier.
Yeah, because now that I'm doing it remotely, like it's just me sitting in my house, them sitting in their house, and that we can go on we spill into like a couple hours or something.
Yeah.
But up until that point in February 2020, the longest recording I'd done before you was with Professor Striff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that was only about an hour and a half long.
Yeah,
and then you said, "Suck that, Dr. Striff."
Suck that, Dr. Striff, because I came out on top with my severely long episode that was not able to be released. But let it be known that it is the true longest episode.
And then you, I mean, of course, you immediately like withdrew that. Like, suck that, Dr. Striff. I'm not serious. Please don't call my mom.
Please don't call my mommy. I don't think it. Yeah, I don't even know Dr. Striff, so it's not my place to say like "suck it, Dr. Striff." So I did not mean any disrespect to Dr. Striff, none at all.
You see, Dr. Striff, I spend more time with Benson talking about nothing.
Yeah. Who came out on top? It was me.
Well, I mean, your recording wasn't released, so I guess.
Yeah, I guess it didn't come out on top. It didn't come out, period. It didn't come out, the episode.
It didn't come out. It didn't come out on top because it didn't come out.
Period.
And then one of the very last things we talked about was Sam should be on again to review the episode, which is what we're doing.
Yeah, and so we did it. But
yeah, we did it.
We did it. There it is.
It only took us 2 hours and 38 minutes. That's even longer than the original episode.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, it makes sense that talking about the things from the original episode would, in turn, end up being longer than the original episode, I guess. It makes sense. That's up. Checks out.
And I think we had joked that if we're going to review that episode on the quote-unquote second time you're on, this has to be twice as long as the first episode.
Yeah. And so we have to fulfill
if the first episode was 2 hours and 15 minutes long,
this has to be.
We have to go for 4.5 hours.
4:30. 4:30 hour. 4 hour 30 minutes.
Which, by the way, we don't have to if you don't want to.
No, we can't. I've literally, in the year of 2020, and I'm sure for much longer, I do not have anything to do when I'm not at school. This is my life. Hold on. I am going to take, can we pause so I can take a bio break? Bathroom break? Bio break?
Okay.
Yeah.
Bio?
Yeah, I don't know. We call them at my job, like when we're saying we're going to the bathroom. It's like bio break, like for your...
I thought you said bile, as in bile break.
Yeah, no, I just have to spew out some bile real quick, if you don't mind me. Just lady things, just girl things. Spewing out bile.
I'm going to keep this running so that it all stays one file. I'll just cut this out later. So you can go take your bile break.
I'm going to go take my bile break.
Guys, I also went on a bile break.
Bile break. Yeah. Expel your bile from your body.
Why have you been sitting there?
No, I just got back. You're good.
Okay, cool. So I guess now that we're done reviewing the first episode that you were on that has not been released,
yes,
we can now talk like normal humans.
Yeah, you can hear my dog barking, but she'll get over it soon because she's not even barking at anything. She's just sitting there throwing a fit. Yeah.
By the way, when we went over the how I drove out an hour just to podcast you, I also was going to say that I shaved, trimmed my nose hairs, wore contacts, and put on pants just to do this.
That's amazing. Yeah, you don't have to do any of that in the year 2020, but yeah, I appreciate that you are wearing pants because you don't, I mean, with these Zoom calls, like no one sees below this is it. Like I definitely have had, there was like a week where I was working from home because there was a lot of COVID cases in our hospital. So I was home and I like was just not wearing pants that week. Like that was just a week that my coworkers would only see me from up here. So that's all I gave them. That's all the effort I would put in upper half of the body.
Yeah. And for anyone wondering, I trim my nose hairs because my nose whistles.
Yeah. Not that you can see them or that the viewer would see them, but I guess it's just, that's so interesting. So does it like, it really makes a difference for you to trim your nose hairs and like record audio?
Because if there's enough hair in my nose, when I breathe in, it will whistle and the mic will pick that up.
Wow. That's some mighty nose power you got. Maybe mine does that, and I guess I just don't really notice it because I'm not recording audio all the time.
Kind of like how you're not aware of how loud your voice is.
Yeah. Because I'm not recording audio all the time. I don't have to take that into consideration. But now I do because my voice is configured at a 10. Or I don't know like what the measurement of that is.
Well, there was a time in my life when like the first time I trimmed my nose hairs was, I think I was like 15 or 16.
Wow.
And it made such a difference because
you felt different.
The maximum amount and length of nose hair in my nose, like it was enough. I'm pretty sure it impeded my ability to breathe.
Jeez. Yeah, I like have never laid hand on my nose hairs. I don't touch those bad boys. I guess I haven't felt the need to.
So the very first time I trimmed my nose hairs, it was like it kept coming.
Like, the hair, it's like that like magician trick where they like swallow the like handkerchiefs and they pull them out. Yeah. That's your nose hair.
Instead of handkerchiefs, it was just nose hairs that were tied together. I kept pulling them out. I'm like, why do I have so much?
How did I get so much nose hair in this nose of mine? Yeah, that's interesting.
And so like I've never gone more than like a few weeks without trimming my nose hairs now.
Damn. That's a thing I feel like most people like don't even pay mind to is the nose hair. But you're out here like taking care of those nose hairs.
I need to breathe, Sam.
I need to do this to function. This is just how I live. This is my life.
I need to breathe and not like capture myself whistling into the mic via my nose.
Via my nose hair whistles. So is this, you're in, well, we talked kind of about in this last podcast, and I guess this one, about like your weird credits at UHart or at school. So is this like your last, it's not your last year at UHart.
This is year 3 out of 4.
Okay. Almost there, Benson. Almost there.
Almost there.
Yeah. And what a strange time it is to like be going through school.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, do you feel like you've learned things with like online classes?
No. Oh no.
Because
I've taken online classes before, back like at my community college, where it would actually be like an actual online class, and like it was teaching yourself.
Yeah,
it was you buying a textbook and teaching yourself.
Yeah, because I had taken some online classes at UHart when I had fallen behind with some of my credits. And I like don't remember a goddamn thing about those courses except that I had to take them. I had to get them in there somewhere. But yeah, it's really difficult with the online learning because it's kind of just like a teacher posts a text and it's just like, all right, go wild, have fun. And I don't know, it's just a really difficult way to learn, like self-directed, and you're supposed to be able to trust yourself enough to not get distracted by all the different things that are on your computer in class. It's like no way.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've spent more time teaching myself non-school things.
Yeah, it becomes
than
harder.
I have actually learning in my classes.
Yeah, it's interesting that it becomes hard to learn when it's like assigned to you. I don't know.
Yeah, because like when we first got sent home back in spring 2020, I decided to for one, I was like trying to learn more about recording because as we've discussed, I don't know at that point in time, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And wanted to like get new machines and whatever and new microphones and stuff. Gadgets. And I decided to set up my fancy semi fancy DSLR camera to use as my webcam.
Nice.
Which you're seeing me through right now.
But the viewers won't see you. They don't even know.
Yeah. And everyone who's ever had a class with me in the past semester, this is what I've been using as my webcam. My this fancy camera here. And also because I figured if we're going to be remote for a lot of things, I might as well appear prepared. And like, oh wow, Benson's got a microphone and like a really nice camera.
Well, I feel like just the fact that you have your webcam on is like a lot, because don't a lot of people with this like remote learning, they don't even have their webcams on or their microphones on.
Yeah. A lot. I did a session with Dr. Cinch the other week, and he talked about how like I'm the only person who consistently has their camera on. Mm-hmm. Well, also because I want to show off that I have a decent camera.
Yeah, that you have your shit together over there. Yeah, but most people,
because I decided to like turn my room into my studio / office space.
Nice.
And like I want my camera on so that people can see I have a decent camera, and also to show off my room, I guess.
That's true. You can see like all your guitars and stuff.
Yeah, I have a thing on the wall to hang my guitars. I have my keyboard over here. I have this microphone stand holding a microphone that's in my face.
You look like very set up. Yeah, I feel like it must be, I don't know. Like I said, I'm super glad that like I graduated and I don't have to deal with like taking online courses, because I feel like it would just be a fucking train wreck.
And now I'm paying for your sins, Samantha.
Yeah, now you are carrying my torch. Here you go, Benson. Here's the torch.
You caused COVID, Sam. Now I have to suffer.
Who caused COVID? I caused COVID. It was me. I wanted time off from school, and so I caused COVID. That's my rationale.
Yeah, we talked about having you on again before the semester and before you graduated, but then everyone got sent home.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said earlier in the podcast, I feel like everyone kind of just thought it was going to be like an extended break and that we were all gonna like be together again, and then it just like didn't happen. They like kept they had like scheduled, I think, a graduation for the class of 2020 for December, and then obviously because things aren't better than they were when they first canceled graduation, they're not having it, they're not rescheduling it, they're kind of just like, all right, go off into the world, you're done. It's over.
Yeah, now I don't know what I'm gonna. This feels weird, and it especially feels weird now that we're on the eve of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I feel like yeah, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Great, love it. Well, I was just saying, I feel like with like every single year. Oh, my doggo. I don't know if a mailman is here. Wait, no, they already came. All right, they're not barking, so that's fine. But I was gonna say, I feel like with every New Year's Eve, people are always saying like, "Oh, what a shitty year that was! Like, can't wait for it to be over." Like, I feel like people always kind of have that attitude. But I feel like that's definitely like a big thing this year. But it's almost like I don't feel like we can expect 2021 to just magically be better because it is a new year, right? But I feel like I feel like that's kind of a thought process that people have behind New Year's regularly anyway. It's just like, well, if you want to make a change, or if you have like a New Year's resolution, quote unquote, like just start doing it. Like you don't need to wait for January 1st at midnight to become like this whole new person or to do the things that you want to do. Like just start doing them. Like a new year doesn't necessarily mean anything different, but I guess I understand.
Like, guys, years are made up.
Yeah, like years it's fake. Like things are gonna we're still gonna have coronavirus and things are still gonna be bad, even though it's outside of that 365-day window that we just completed.
Yeah, but also, guys, years don't mean anything.
We made it up.
You realize a year to us is literally the amount of time the Earth takes to go around the sun, right?
That's all it is.
There's such a thing as a Martian year.
A Martian year? Yeah, or because other planets have like shorter days, shorter years, longer years.
Yeah. Also, years don't actually exist in the real world. They're just things made up by us so we can categorize time.
So we can figure our shit out, and we didn't even figure our shit out. Calendar don't do nothing for nobody. It's so interesting because I feel like we all like agree that like time is made up, or that we made it up so that we have like a way to measure, I guess, time itself. Yeah. But we're like, we can't do away with clocks or calendars. Like no one's advocating for that, but it's just so weird that we're all like, yeah, this is fake. Like we made it up, but we made it up so long ago and we've been doing it for so long that like if Saturday isn't Saturday, man, I don't know what I'll do. Like not having like a Monday through Friday, Saturday through Sunday. I can't fathom not having like a calendar to operate by.
Yeah. And the fact that seconds, minutes, and hours divide into 60 into each other, like that was just the way like someone decided to do it, and we stuck with that. Yeah,
like we could have been like, fuck it, a minute is
100 seconds.
Yeah, like wait, who picked 60? I'm sure there's actually like some like complex science behind like why it is, but I don't know. I feel like it's just so long ago that no one questions why we're doing it. We're just like, yep, it's weird.
I'm pretty sure it is just because it's that was the form that was around, and then people were like, yeah, it works, it's fine. And so we stuck with it.
Yeah. So here we are.
Like we said before, time is fake.
Time is fake, everybody. Destroy burn your calendars that your grandma and grampy got you for Christmas. We always get like a calendar every Christmas from my grandparents. So we're going to burn it to get rid of the notion of time. So listeners at home, burn your calendar. Destroy your clocks.
It's like the bonfire of the vanities, but the bonfire of the vanities.
I'm not familiar.
That was a thing that happened in Italy when there were a bunch of people who were like, suddenly you're like really religious or whatever, and they decided to burn all the vanities, all the like the quote unquote useless things like art and whatever. You're like, burn it all because we don't need it.
We just need our heavenly things that will get us to heaven. Well, yeah, our material objects, our earthly things that we need to get rid of are our clocks, our calendars. New year, new us. Time is gone. We're just going to try something new in 2021. Just no time anymore.
Yeah. And I don't mean to mangle the momentum of the podcast, but one thing I was thinking about saying back when I was talking about being a remote student was I got into a thing where I would play music in like the waiting room when everyone's went before class starts. Mm-hmm. So for everyone who was like waiting for class to start, I would like plug in my guitar or my keyboard, and I would just play music. It was the Blackboard Lounge with Benson Ty.
Yes, I love that. That's kind of cool. Do people respond to that like audibly? Like, do people let you know their thought to that, or are people just so like in like no camera, no microphone mode that you don't even like have a gauge for how people are responding to like your music?
People would respond like this one time when for survey 1 of American literature, Dr. Sinch, I was playing for like 20 minutes waiting for class to start.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about something that predates online learning. Yes.
No, I mean like in the for the online learning.
Okay,
when we
so
would be meeting.
We didn't take American Survey together for some reason. We didn't take American Survey.
This is Survey 1 this past semester.
Okay, I guess for some reason in my head I made up that we took that together, but I think it was maybe
we took Survey 2 together.
Oh, okay, that's why. So we took a survey.
But there was one time when I was playing guitar for like 20 minutes waiting for class to start, and it turns out I clicked on the wrong session.
Oh no! What class?
But there were other people who also clicked on the wrong session that were giving me feedback, like, "Wow, this is nice," and then they realized they're in the wrong thing, and then they leave. I'm like, oh, that's what the title of this session is. This is not the right one. I have to go, and I was late for class.
No. Well, I mean, I feel like professors only expect, as technological difficulties like clicking the wrong Zoom link to happen in the age of 2020, the year of our Lord 2020.
Which this was on Blackboard Collaborate, actually.
Oh, so see, that's not even one that I mess with because I don't have any use for Blackboard in the post-college world. So for me, it's been Zoom and Google Meet are the only ones that I've had to wrangle with. But so has Blackboard created their own sort of in-house Zoom or Google Meet? Okay.
Yeah, it's their own kind of video conferencing service, which is inside Blackboard, which it's been around. I think the first time I saw it was when we were sent home in the spring.
I wonder, I bet it probably existed before that, but it probably became prevalent because of that.
And then I don't think you would have had any classes that...
No, because when we were first sent home, like I said, I only had one class with Julie once a week. And honestly, before we had been sent home during that period, a lot of the times we would do Zoom calls for class anyways. Sometimes Julie would just be like, do you guys want to do a Zoom call today instead of meeting in person? And we would just be like, yeah, okay, sure. So we just kind of kept up with using Zoom throughout the semester. And we didn't really, I wasn't aware until just now that Blackboard had its own video meeting conference.
Yeah, it was I think they might have probably existed beforehand.
Yeah.
Or they were working on it. And then when the pandemic happened, there's perfect opportunity to put this up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just push
so
that.
I was using, so for spring 2020, I was, for the latter half of the semester, I was using it for classes, for a bunch of classes.
Mm-hmm. Damn, I wonder if you'll have to do, I don't foresee this going away next semester. And I wonder if you'll have to just finish your senior year in a pandemic. Because I don't know, I feel like if you had asked me in March, I mean, I've said a few times at this point, in March, I thought we were going to get 2 weeks off and then it was all going to be over. And, in April and May, I definitely thought it would be over at this point even. And now I'm just you know what? I'm going to stop trying to formulate a guess on when this is going to be over. And I'm just going to say it'll be a while. It'll be a good while until we get the normal back.
Good while.
Good while before we're there.
Yeah, it's gonna even now that a vaccine or multiple vaccines are in circulation. It's not. Yeah, it's gonna take time to vaccinate people. So it's not. It's gonna be a while.
I was supposed to get my vaccine. I think the first time they told me about it, they said they're gonna call you on the 23rd of December to get it. And then the 23rd of December came around and no one ended up ever calling me in to my work to get it.
Oh.
So I was like, what's happening? Am I getting it? And then my boss sent an email saying, okay, well, you'll get it not this week, but you'll get it next week. And then that next week, which I think was then the 28th or something, a couple of days ago, I waited around for a phone call. Still did not get one to call me in for the vaccine. And they told me that I will maybe be getting it on Monday, but I don't know if they're going to push it back again because every time the day
Samantha,
that
I'm not important enough.
Yeah, I'm not important enough. I'm not on the top of the list. So yeah, it's been weird with the rollout because some hospitals are getting it quicker than others. And I think with mine, we've had it for a while, or not for like a while, but for at least for that week that they first initially told us that we were going to be getting it. I think they must have had it, but I guess the distribution is just, it's not going as quickly as I think they wanted it to overall.
Yeah.
But as soon as they let me have that shit, I'll drink it. I'll inject it. I'll do whatever they need me to do with it. I don't think you drink it. You don't drink this vaccine. It's a normal.
No. What vaccine do you?
I think the polio vaccine.
Oh, the polio.
Yeah. There was a drinkable vaccine, but this is not one of them. Unfortunately, I would throw that back like shots.
Your first drink of 2021 is the COVID-19 vaccine.
Absolutely. Let's get wasted on this vaccine. But yeah, I guess it's not going.
Let's get wasted on COVID-19 and then get wasted on the vaccine.
Yeah. Just get like absolutely delusional from being sick with COVID-19.
You're dead. You have died from COVID-19. And then you're trying to shove a needle into a dead body because you want to vaccinate it. Even though it's dead.
Oh, Jesus. That would be just wasted, like, resources. Save some for the rest of us, bud. But yeah, so hopefully... Wait, one thing. Wait, I forgot what I was going to... Ah, shit. Fuck, it's gone. Fuck.
Oh, no. I intended to ask you at the top of the podcast what your grade would have been for the first one we did.
My grade. Oh, well, I didn't listen
But you didn't even listen to it. And
I can't that's an F. F for I didn't see it. The work doesn't get to me, it's an F. 0.
Incomplete.
Incomplete.
Because it was sent to you. You just didn't review it.
Yeah. So you can't grade what you don't do.
I would have graded the conversation we had as an A,
but the quality of it.
But the recording as a D because I did a terrible job.
Oh, geez. See, like I just didn't want to listen to it because I was like, it's gonna be fucking painful to listen to. Like my voice is gonna sound.
It's not painful necessarily. It's just gonna tickle your ear, and if you expose yourself too long, it's gonna like tickle it
like a not great tickle.
It's gonna do lasting damage.
And we don't like that for our ears. Not a big fan of our.
No, I mean, even though I do have lasting damage to my ears, I don't like having it.
Yeah, that's ass. How old are you again? And you have already ear damage?
I'm 24.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like falling apart, even though I'm only 23. I'm just like, damn, it's only going to get worse. Like if. For me, I've been experiencing like kind of bad like back issues, and I feel like a lot of it stems from the fact that we went remote or like earlier in the year. Obviously, I'm in person with my kids, like I said this year, but there's still like so much like hunching over at a computer that was just suddenly added to everyone's day. I feel that it just like really fucking took a toll on my back. And it was just like, oh man, this is like what getting older and being older is going to be like. It's just like constant back pain. And it's only going to get worse until I die.
I mean, I also have back pain that's been worsened by the fact.
Yeah.
Like, I think because this chair sucks that I'm sitting in. Mm-hmm. And I probably should get a new one, but also, sitting at a computer for days on end. And I mean, I guess I'm lucky that I've had this set up in a way that my monitor is up higher, so I'm not craning my neck like this a lot.
Yeah.
But it's still like I'm feeling it. I'm falling apart, feeling it.
Humans weren't meant to just sit in chair and stare at screen, even though sometimes that's what sit in chair, stare at screen. Just like bullet point out those things. Sit in chair.
Why use lot word when few word do trick?
Exactly. But yeah, humans weren't meant to just sit in chairs and look at screens, even though it's what we choose to do, even when we're not obligated to do so through virtual meetings or virtual learning. But here we are, getting back pain at age 23 and 24.
I mean, I've had back pain for a long time because I'm overweight and sedentary, but
that might do it to you. I can't say I like really noticed back pain for myself until this year, and it was mostly because it was starting to like, it would be back pain, and then it would be like upper back pain, and then it would be like my neck, and then my neck would like give me a headache, and I would get migraines. Yeah. So it kind of just like progressively became like all of these things, and I suddenly was like, oh fuck, my back and my everything.
And Samantha may, we're in our video chat, you may have noticed me cracking my neck a lot.
Oh, is that what you're doing? Because I do that shit too. I have not really been. Is that what you're doing? Okay.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. I do that much too.
Thing is, this only like presented itself within like the last year and a half or something like that. Yeah. Like I never really cracked my neck before then, but now that I think it's spending a lot of time at the computer, and also like maybe not sleeping in the best position ever.
I think so with me too. Like my cat is
now my neck is like always stiff, and I find myself needing to crack it, which is not what you do. Not what you should do.
Yeah, I started seeing like a chiropractor for it because I would do like I still kind of like crack my neck throughout the day, but that doesn't actually like provide like that doesn't really fix any issue.
It literally does not fix anything. It's just like it's a
it like pops.
Like quick relief.
Yeah. And honestly, for me, the reason I started seeing like the chiropractor is because just like doing the like neck snaps, like even when I could get it to crack, like it wouldn't even provide me with any relief. It like maybe in the moment, but like long-term relief, I was just like, nope, my neck is still stiff. I still like can't move it as much as I should be able to. So now I pay a professional to like crack my shit up for me. And it's really good. It actually, I feel like it's really
helpful. Walk into the chiropractor's office, crack my shit up.
Like, doctor, just fuck me up. Like that's how I felt like going into it because I was in such pain. Like I had never considered getting a chiropractor before because I was just like, what do I need that for? Just fuck my shit up, Doc.
I thought you were going to stop at Dr. Fuck Me.
Doctor. Doctor, blow out my back in as many ways as possible. Yeah.
Doctor, fuck me and then fuck me up.
In this order. Yeah, me and my doctor, we don't fuck like that, but she does like fuck my she does fuck my shit up.
Fuck like what? Wait, hold on.
She fucks my shit up by cracking my back and my neck. Okay. And that is the end of our relationship. Let's not go any further than that. I sound like someone who's trying to like convince their spouse that they're like not having an affair with the chiropractor. No, honey, she cracks my back and like that's it. I go home. That's all we do. She cracks my back and that's it. Honey, I swear. There's no funny business, sweetheart. I'm not sleeping with the chiropractor.
It's just we sometimes like tell you the jokes.
Your wife is like, you've been going out for long hours, and you say it's the chiropractor, but I just don't know what you're doing if you're really at the chiropractor. No, honey, I am at the chiropractor.
But the chiropractor is not open that late.
And that's when the divorce papers are.
No, you see, I go to my chiropractor's house, and then they break my stuff. They break my bone. They crack my bones. All of my bones.
They just crack my bones. Yeah, man. I do sound like someone trying to like explain their way out of an affair. It's not
Dr.
Like that.
Chiropractor person, fuck me up.
Fuck Up. Period.
Fuck me. And then in parentheses, the word up.
In the upwards direction. So yes, I do recommend getting a chiropractor if anyone out there is in severe back pain. They will crack your back and nothing more. Most likely. If they're like if they're an honest like practitioner, they will just crack your back with no funny business.
Yeah, and then maybe crack something else.
Maybe. We hope not. We hope no one's being like hit on by their chiropractor.
Cracking boners.
Oh, cracking boners. That sounds like so ow. Like I don't even have those parts, but I feel like I felt that. I feel like I just felt my boner get cracked and it hurts.
That joke was sitting there the whole time.
The boner crack? Well, yeah, I'm surprised we left it alone for as long as we did. I'm proud of us.
I decided, well...
Yeah, Benson decided, no, I have to do it. That's okay. When you see the opportunities, you need to take them.
When I see the opportunity, I seize it.
Yeah, seize that boner crack.
Boner seizure.
That's just like a completely different. So we have like the boner crack, and then we had like the boner seizure.
As in like seizing your property, including your boner. But boners also boners during property. Boners while having seizures.
Jeez.
And
seizing a
wait, what you think I was saying the first time then?
I was thinking like a boner having a seizure. Like a boner just like a boner just like freaking out. Like freaking out.
Well, you could say a boner is a seizure, kind of.
And I feel like a boner I feel like a seizure rather.
A seizure is too much going on up here in this head, and then a boner is too much going on down there in that head.
That's true, but I feel like, I guess when I think of a seizure, and this isn't to say that all seizures are like this, but when I think of a seizure, I think of like the rapid movement that could happen, like in the body, like throughout, you know. So that's like, I pictured a boner doing that, like just like lots of movement with an erect, like a boner. Speaking of boners, let's segue. Speaking of boners, so I have a student, wonderful student of mine.
Whose boner has seizures?
No, not that I know of.
I'm sorry. Please go on.
But I have a wonderful student who is not officially diagnosed with dyslexia, but who I think has dyslexia and who my coworkers think have dyslexia. And the student himself thinks that he has dyslexia. And hold up, I'm even gonna do us the honors of pulling up the real thing that he wrote if I can find it. Actually, that might take me too much time, so I'll just start to think about what it is that he was writing. But yeah, we think he might be dyslexic because he tends to like make very careless spelling errors that don't even, like really resemble the word that he's trying to spell. And I'm not going to pull up the actual like work sample because it'll take me a while to find like where it lives. But I remember once in some writing that he was doing, he was talking about college football. He was like super into football and super into sports. And he was talking about how he's been watching like a lot of college football recently and how he thinks it's like better than the NFL. And he said, I think one of the reasons that it's better than the NFL is because people who are in college football have the opportunity to get free erections. And, I remember just after school, I was staring at my computer and I was trying to figure out like what did like he didn't mean erections. Like that you did not mean erections. And I showed my coworker, I was like, I want you to see like what he wrote, because this was a coworker who like, I wasn't even just trying to show it to him to be like, haha, kid said erection. But I was like, do you know what he's trying to say? Like, we talked about him being dyslexic. Like, do you know what he's trying to say here? And we were like looking at it and he was like, free education. It starts with E and it ends with ION, but he wrote erection and not education. And I remember so we went to school the next day and I sat down with the kid and I was like, hey, like we've been working on some of your writing, like you're doing really well. But like, remember how we talked about how you should like always proofread something before you turn it in? And he was like, okay. And so I was like, did you see like the comment I left? Because I left a comment like on the Google Doc and I just like highlighted it and I wrote like, proofread your work. I don't think this is what you meant to say. And so I like in class, I just like pointed it out to him and he looked at what he wrote and he looked at the word erection that he wrote and he just looked at me and he said, what is that? And I was like, oh no. and he's an older kid. He's 17. So I was just like, I don't think you don't know what that is. So it was just this like awkward. I didn't know if he maybe really didn't know what that word meant, if the word, you know, erection wasn't in his vocabulary, but maybe like boner is. I don't know. But I was not about to break down what I was not trying to break down an erection to a 17-year-old boy on that faithful day. So I just kind of moved on and I said, well, I think you meant to spell education. And that's just not what you spelled here. So there you have it.
Now there's some guy at a baseball game handing out free erections. Free erections, guys. Come get your free erections.
I know. It's like when it said free erections, I was like, what could that possibly be? And then I thought to myself, I was like, well, maybe college football players like do in a way get like free erections. Like maybe he's meaning to say that they get like a lot of action in the school, but I know that's not what he was saying. But I was like,
all erections are free.
That's not true. I guess if you are like paying for sex or paying for porn, I guess you would be buying that erection.
I mean, sort of, but not. But like in the,
you're more than capable of giving. Yeah, like you're in charge of your own
erections.
that is your own responsibility. So no one can.
I am in charge of my own erections.
Yes, this great personal responsibility that I've been gifted.
These erections are mine and mine alone.
Yes, so that was the story.
No one is influencing my erections.
See, well, that's the thing. I feel like most of our erections are influenced, but you're right. That doesn't mean that getting the erection.
Erections are influenced.
I mean, well, I guess like when you're a younger kid and when you're like starting to really get through puberty, sometimes erections aren't influenced and they're just like there. I've heard like I've heard phenomenon of like teenage boys like getting random boners in class and like having to hide.
I refer to them as unintentional spontaneous boners or USB.
USB? That's so funny. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one thing I never had to deal with growing up as someone who does not have those body parts to do those things.
You don't get boners?
No, I don't get boners. Unfortunately. My boner has not been influenced to show itself yet.
So if you were...
If I was properly influenced, maybe I would have a boner. Is that how that works? Do you remember in that Shakespeare class, I think we brought up the fact one time that kind of like in Shakespeare's day, people believed that like if you behaved too much like the other, like the opposite sex, that you like could just become them, or like if you like exerted yourself like physically like too hard and you had a vagina, if you exerted yourself like too hard, then you would just like your vagina would like pop inside out and you would then become a man.
I've never heard of this.
You've never... That was definitely reading that we had to do for, or I don't know if it was reading that everyone had to do for Shakespeare, but I remember that there was a point where we kind of like, at one point or another, you would individually be in charge of doing the reading and also some of like another article that supplemented the reading.
Okay, so that might have been yours that you did.
I think, yeah. So you might not have any familiarity with that, but I like distinctly remember reading that and being like, what? And I thought it was interesting too, because in Shakespeare's time, like they wouldn't cast women in plays. They would cast boys as women in plays. But it made me like wonder, like, oh, were they not concerned that like these young boys were acting too feminine? Like, were they not scared that like their genitals were like gonna go inside out and become like a vagina? Because that's kind of like a thought that they had. So I don't know. Yeah, good talk. Good stuff. Real
you
good
say
stuff.
We should stop now?
Yeah, I don't know how much further we need to go with. I mean, unless do you have further thoughts on the any outie? That's kind of like what it is. It's like,
is that what?
That's kind of, I feel like how they treated it or thought of it.
Hold on.
Like
so penises are outies.
Yeah, and vaginas are. And yeah. Yeah, I feel like,
So, I guess we could.
Yeah, I guess we could move away from that topic.
Okay, guys. I guess we could end it. First of all, I'll have to put in the show notes. Like the first part is us reviewing the first episode, and the quote unquote real talk doesn't start until like 2 hours 40.
Yeah, of course.
So if you want to listen to not even an hour of us quote unquote actually talking,
yeah, you could like bookmark it. Like actual conversation starts here. And
it's like, what the hell did they spend doing for 2 hours?
Like,
and
what were they doing for the
what's that big setup in order for them to actually start talking?
What's all that? It's still talking.
It was the preparation.
Oh yeah, it was us getting into the mode.
It's the foreplay before the actual conversation.
Podcast foreplay, absolutely. So what classes are you taking this semester? What is your workload
for the semester that just happened, or this coming semester?
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that we're kind of in the middle of those two things. Yeah, I mean, I guess let's talk about what classes will you be taking to wrap up your junior year.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I just took. So this past semester I just took Survey of American Literature 1.
We love.
Effective Teaching 1.
What's it called? Effective Teaching? I think I took a class. That's like, isn't that such like a lazy class title? They're just like, fuck it. Effective Teaching.
I mean, it's Effective Teaching 1, colon, and then something long that I can't remember what it is.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
And then Methods of Teaching Secondary English.
Cool. With Julie, is that with Julie?
No, with Paulina Claire.
Oh, I love Paulina. Oh, yeah. Okay, so think that, see, I forget like the different titles of the different courses I took, but that must have been the class I took. Paulina. That's awesome. I love Paulina.
Yeah. And then I think, wait, hold on. I cannot forgot to remember the rest of it. Let me look in my
man. Like, what schedule. The fuck was the semester?
I also took an acting class.
Ooh, what do those look like? Do you have like, do actors have special masks that they need to wear, or does a regular mask suffice?
No, this is like an introductory kind of class for non-acting majors.
Okay, so I assume that it was virtual.
Some of it was.
Oh, okay.
It was hybrid.
And class.
I took a film history class that was remote.
Okay.
And then a course at the Hart School called Sound Technology.
Ooh, does that help?
Which is about. It's like a survey course about recording.
Oh, okay, that sounds cool.
So
that sounds useful. Like, have you learned anything that you've been able to use for like podcasting?
Oh yeah, definitely. Good. Yeah, like I already knew quite a bit going in, but like,
nice.
So I did well and was able. I had a foundation of knowledge. And then I learned way even more because like I learned about how an analog tape machine works.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's like an older piece of, I mean, well, that's cool, but it's also like, do you plan on ever using that kind of like media? I feel like that's like a dying medium almost, like tapes.
I mean, probably not for me. But it's cool to know what came before our current age of digital recording and how all that stuff worked. Yeah. And I still don't think I wouldn't be able to run a session on tape. I would not know. But but it's cool to see like how like the ideas and concepts present in the age of analog recording and how the same things are transformed or rather translated into digital recording. How like you have terms that don't necessarily make sense literally when you're talking about digital recording, but they're carried over from the age of analog recording. You know what I mean? Like when they say like print this thing, like print this track, that's literally them talking about when they would print the actual recording onto physical tape.
Yeah, like now, you don't need to say that anymore, but it carries like the same sort
like
of
that's
meaning.
Like the so it's like the jargon now to quote unquote print, like just to lay the track, you know, lay the digital track. Print it.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I know a lot of I mean, I don't think I know anyone who uses tapes as a means to like record primarily, like recording directly onto the tape, but I do know a lot of like musicians and bands who will release music like on tapes because it's like a cool collectible kind of like hipster-ish item, I guess. So they're starting to make I feel like they're starting. I don't even feel like I even want to say like a comeback because I know so few people, like I know so many bands that make them, but I know so few people who have the means to listen to them. So I feel like, I don't know, I have some tapes and they're kind of just like these cool things that I have that I'm not able to listen to. Like obviously you can.
I also have a few tapes that I can't listen to.
Yeah, and like you can listen to those albums presumably on other formats, and you can know what's on the tape without actually playing the tape. So I feel like it's almost kind of like it's just like a cool thing to collect for a lot of people. And I'm sure there are people who are very like, no, I actually like listen to the cassette tapes and like da 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 da, but I don't know any of them.
I actually own a bunch of vinyl records, but I don't have a turntable to play them.
I am in the same boat right now. I have a bunch of records. And I used to have like one of those, what are they called? They're called, I don't know what they're called. They're those turntables that are in like the suitcase, like record players that are kind of portable, but they're super shitty. And I guess I've just like heard that. And again, I'm not someone who knows anything about like audio and gear, but I feel like I've just heard so many people being like, these players, like they actually scratch up records really badly and like ruin them. So I was like, oh, I kind of like don't want that to be my primary way of like listening to these then. So, but I haven't really, I don't know, invested in a real piece of equipment for that.
Yeah. I've been thinking of getting a turntable, but like it'd be one of those really multifunctional turntables where it is you can play records, but you can also insert cassette tapes, radio, Bluetooth, insert a USB stick or whatever, to play like the ultimate kind of
like an all-in-one kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. I remember in college I had a roommate who just had like a really old turntable, and it worked really well. But yeah, it was like a really old turntable that we would sometimes have to like adjust the belts to like get it to work. But when it was hooked up correctly, like to speakers and everything, it was like bellissimo. It sounded so good. You got to do the chef's kiss. Bellissimo. So you're not doing field work of any variety or practicum or of any.
Oh, I think I would have for effective teaching, but COVID permitting, it's not happening right now.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
So for the next semester, the things I'm taking are, if I can go to my other schedule, it's I'm going to take modern health concepts.
Oh gosh. Cool. I remember that class. That was one of the classes that I think I had in the evening, like the 7:30 to 9:50 block.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was at with that class.
Reading in the content areas.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I remember I took that sophomore year, but I don't think I was not supposed to take that sophomore year. I just like ended up in it early for some reason because it's in my schedule. C'est la vie.
Yeah. And then effective teaching 2, but currently I'm the only student in the program who's in that part of the sequence.
Oh gosh. So is it just going to be you?
Now Julie has advised a bunch of like first or second year students to take that, but they haven't taken effective teaching 1 yet.
Oh geez. Okay. That's so interesting.
So just so that like we can have a sizable class.
Yeah, and it not just be you. Not that you wouldn't be like a wonderful one-on-one student for Julie, but just I can see the university's hesitation to run a class that just has one student in it.
Yeah, in fact, if they were to, it's going to be taught by Jennifer Hawkins.
Oh, I love her. I love Jen.
Yeah. Awesome. The thing is, if it was going to be just myself, like it would basically like cancel Jennifer's class. And it would have to be done as an independent study that Julie would take up.
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, I guess
she is like trying to coax these underclassmen to take it without having taken the first course yet, just so that we can have enough people in the class to be an actual class.
That'll be interesting because I remember, from what I remember of effective teaching, is the first one, you kind of like just really learn how to make lesson plans for the first time. And like your like culminating thing that you do at the end of the semester is you present a lesson plan. But then for effective teaching 2, I remember we had to do a unit plan. But I think other than kind of like, I guess, where you would be at with that, I wonder if there is a way that Jen could, I'm sure there is a way that Jen could make that work where you would be kind of at your pace with what you need to do. And the underclassmen could be at their pace with what they need to do. Even though I feel like first learning to do a lesson plan, at least in my experience, it was so like intimidating. And then like by the time you get to effective teaching 2 and you have to do like the unit plan, it's much easier to make individual lesson plans. At least that was like my experience. But at first, when I was first introduced to like the planning out of a lesson plan, it was super overwhelming. So I wonder if you'll just be surrounded by a bunch of super overwhelmed like freshmen and sophomore while you're kind of just like, I got this. I'm going to make a unit plan. It could be that.
I'm going to make a unit plan. That was very Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah, I just watched Elf, so that's the latest form of Zooey Deschanel media that I've consumed. I don't know of anything else she's in. Or I know of things that she's in, but I don't watch other things that she's in.
New Girl?
Yeah, I don't watch New Girl. That's like the only thing I can really like name her from, but I didn't want to be like, oh, her thing is only New Girl, but it might be. It might be her only thing.
So I'm also taking Introduction to Professional Writing.
Ooh, nice. That's awesome. Who's that with?
Which is, I don't know yet. I don't think they have an instructor listed yet.
Oh, okay.
But it's like, because as someone who's enrolled in the College of Arts and Sciences, I have the choice between, actually, most people who are enrolled in ANS have to take, Academic Writing 1 and then Foundations of Argument, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember taking that.
As a transfer student, I can choose between Foundations of Argument or Introduction to Professional Writing. So I figured, well, professional writing, that's basically like writing emails and sounding formal.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what the course description says. I'm like, okay, I'll do that instead of Foundations of Argument. Because I've already spent half my life writing persuasive essays, so I don't think I need to do that ever again right now.
Yeah, I think if you like know what like pathos, logos, and ethos are, you don't really need to take like Foundations of Arguments, or like you said, if you've ever written like a persuasive essay, like an argumentative essay, like that's it, you got it.
And then I'm also taking a couple of film courses, which will round out my cinema curriculum.
And you'll be done.
Film analysis.
Nice.
And then cinematography.
Nice. So will those be classes where you have to like create a film at the end?
For film analysis, that is a film studies course where you like watch movies and write about them. But cinematography will be a production course where you're expected to make shit. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Are you excited to make shit?
Not really, because I don't know how to. I mean, I have a degree where so part of the curriculum was to take photography classes, and I did well in them. But I honestly I don't know much about photography, even less so photography in motion or cinematography.
Pictures. Then move into your films.
So I've been wanting to take a cinematography class for a while, just so that I can finally learn like what to do, and so I can look like I know what I'm doing in terms of using a camera. Yeah. And so like I wouldn't say I'm ready, but like what else am I gonna? The reason for taking the class is to learn about it.
Yeah. So it's okay that you don't know the things just yet. So like so you are a film major. So like when you think of, like being a film major and like having like a film degree, like what role do you see yourself in like film? Like, is it like behind a camera, or like, do you want to like write films, or do you want to do it all?
I want to be the person who does it all. Like so far I've produced a few things in my time at the university, like short films.
Yeah.
And one of them was an actual like film, like not a documentary.
Yeah.
And I was also an actor in that one.
Nice. Yeah.
So, I was a cast and crew of one. So I was literally the only person working on it.
Nice.
Trying to make sure that I'm directing myself as an actor and like trying to make sure I'm in focus.
That makes sense. Working with yourself before you're in charge of directing other people.
Yeah. And no, but also because like I'm not a fan of the kids in the cinema department.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to do this myself because I don't want to work with these people. But also like I really want to like be the person who knows how to do all the things.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that makes you very practical.
Yeah. Especially like
the person who does all the things that's desirable.
Yeah. Like when I started the podcast, that was my push to make me learn about recording sound.
Yeah.
So that I could like know what I'm doing there, and also like taking that sound technology course this past semester. Yeah. And I just because I know how to write, Like I've done writing. I've written screenplays. Like I know how to write.
Yeah.
I guess I know how to produce and direct now because I've been doing a lot of little projects by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I know how to do those things. I can write music. I can write and record music now for my films.
Yeah.
Like I can act in a thing if there's no one else is there.
If I must act in the thing, I can make it happen.
Oh please, don't make me act.
Yeah.
Well, I heard myself say me. So I heard myself cast myself. Okay, I guess I'll act. No, I'm actually not that big fan. I'm not that big a fan of myself acting, but so I can act in a pinch, I guess.
Yeah.
And now I feel like the one thing missing is I also know how to edit. I've been editing videos since I was like 8 or something.
Okay.
So I'm good there. So the only thing missing is like knowing how to work a camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not just putting it on auto.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, because with your nice camera that you're on right now, it's just set up. It's stagnant. It's in one spot. But like you said, it will be the moving picture that you have to master. Moving picture films.
They're moving pictures.
Yeah. Them newfangled moving picture films. That'll be
them newfangled movers.
The movers. So do you know if that class will be like in person or not?
It's gonna be hybrid. It's a meet once a week kind of class.
Okay.
And like it makes sense because we have to like work with we have to be able to touch cameras.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you have to actually have the thing physically there and learning how to do it. And that will be the last semester of junior year.
Yeah.
For you. Are you excited to
No.
Yeah, I feel like school like isn't very exciting right now. It's hard to like feel optimistic about, I don't know, even classes that one would be excited about originally.
I mean, like I was excited for the recording class this past semester.
Mm-hmm.
But the class takes place in the recording studio, which it's full of a bunch of equipment and you can't distance. So we ended up being in a different room.
Oh.
So we couldn't like look at all the cool shit or listen to stuff on the speakers that were in the studio.
So is UHeart like really good at observing like these social like distancing rules?
Yeah. Like with the classes, if it goes past a certain number of people that are in the class, they'll split it up into like an A and B group if it meets twice a week.
Okay. That makes sense. We're just like, I feel like when they opened up schools and they were not even just, I feel like universities kind of have more like leeway with this kind of stuff than like a, say, public school would, where they have to fit like so many kids in a class and they don't have as many teachers to be able to cover all like the different periods of classes that they would need to chunk kids into socially distanced, safe groups and stuff. And I don't really know, I guess, what it looks like in a public school, but I know where I'm at, like we're so, like I said, we can only have 3 kids in the classroom, depending on the room, like give or take maybe like 1 or 2 bodies you can add in there depending on the room. But like my kids are fucking awful at wearing masks. Like they're really fucking bad at it. I'm sure that is true for like public school and anyone who works with young children, is kids are just like really bad at wearing them. And when it comes with like the social distancing, we just like, even though, like I said earlier, I'm working with like a pretty small number of kids, like 20 to 30 kids, we don't have like enough space for each class to be capped off at 3 kids. Like we have more kids than that. So we sometimes will have to like do shit where we'll put like a desk in the doorway and we're like, you are sitting there. That is your spot for today. Or sometimes I've straight up just been over capacity, like in my room. Like we have to kind of mix around the groupings for the kids quite a bit because, you know, it's not a regular school where the kids are enrolled for the whole year. They're in a mental hospital, so they're hopefully aiming to leave at some point. So we have people coming and going, and it changes like who is in what group and what room they're in. They also like get in a bunch of fights with each other, so some kids like have to be which I'm sure, you know, is a thing
and then they film each other fighting, and it's like a Guy Ritchie movie.
And it comes full circle. Well, yeah. They don't film each other fighting, but there's always something happening where like a kid will need to be moved into a different group. And sometimes there's just like not enough space to have people 6 feet apart from each other. Like it's just not realistic in our setting, at least. So it's been really, really interesting in that sense. COVID, I feel like this is a very interesting year for me to have gotten, you know, my first big boy job. But here I am doing it. I wear a face shield at work.
I find it interesting you said big boy job.
Big boy job, yeah. Well, what would I say?
Big girl job?
I don't know. I wasn't thinking about it that hard. Big boy. I feel like big boy is maybe not accurate, but it's easier to say. I like the alliteration, big boy, as opposed to big girl, big boy. So that was I don't know. I don't think there was a thought process behind it.
That's my favorite Bob Dylan song. You're a big boy now.
You're a big spelled with a B-O-I. Boy.
For those listening, the real title of that Bob Dylan song is "You're a Big Girl Now."
And that Fergie song, "Big Boys Don't Cry." For that hit.
That Beyonce song, "If I Were a Big Boy."
If I were a big boy. The I is important. It changes the pronunciation and the inflection. Boy.
Boy.
Very good.
All right. We're coming up on 4 hours now.
We aimed for what, 4:30?
Oh no, we don't have to do 4:30.
I think we did double. I feel like we did double what we had originally. And even if we didn't, the viewer, or the listener rather,
the viewers,
they're not viewing shit, they're listening. But the listener was not even aware of how much time we spent talking last time because they didn't hear it. It's lost media.
Yeah. But actually, this might end up not being quite 4 hours because I do a thing where I cut out long pauses and stuff. So
so whatever.
I don't want
the magic of editing will get us to where we need to be.
But or I could just leave it all in, including where we took a bathroom break.
Yeah, just so 5 minutes of us in the bathroom, just that long.
I brought my microphone into the bathroom.
And I want the listener to have the experience with me. Virtual reality.
No, I'm kidding. I don't have a cable that long.
But if you did, that's the only thing keeping you from bringing the microphone into the bathroom. Rest assured.
This is me going potty.
Guys, Benson is in the bathroom, actually. He's been in the bathroom this whole time.
No.
He records live from his toilet.
But the podcast with Benson Ty, live from the toilet.
Hell yeah!
I don't think I delivered that quite the way I wanted. Okay.
Oh, that's not really.
This is me giving myself notes.
You're like, that could be better.
The podcast with Benson Ty, live from the toilet. There it is.
Good. That was good. I thought the first one was good, but that was good too.
Well, I think we tied it up.
I think we got it.
Right. I mean, the kids filming each other Guy Ritchie movie.
We got it all.
We're going 4 hours. We're up on 4 hours. giving myself producer notes about my performance on the podcast. And we reviewed the first episode that no one but myself and Dr. Cinch have heard.
I can't. That's so odd to me that Dr. Cinch has heard. That Dr. Cinch, like that only. I mean, I was gonna say only you and Dr. Cinch have heard the podcast, but I haven't even heard it. I guess I was just there for the birthing of it. But now it's like, it felt like, because it wasn't released, it was kind of just like between you and I, but I guess it's between you, me, and Professor Cinch, which I think is so funny. I love that, like, he got to take a look-see into that episode, the content of that episode.
I don't know. I feel like Dr. Cinch is like the only person I know who like is like a self-professed, because he's a professor.
Jesus.
He's a professor who is also a self-professed, like, avid fan of the podcast. So I felt like sharing that with him.
That's cool.
He told me like my podcast is in his top 5.
Nice. Damn.
And it's the only one that doesn't deal with politics or sports.
Oh, I don't pin him as like a sports guy, really.
He loves baseball.
That's cute. Baseball is a cute sport to really be into. Baseball is a funny sport. I would go to a baseball game with like a foam finger and like Cracker Jack. I would just like, I don't know anything about baseball really, but I would just like to go to like make a day of it and get the foam finger.
Yeah, like I don't particularly like baseball, but in high school, like I would go to like the high school's baseball games, which were usually like during the day.
Really?
I mean, some of them were during the day on like a weekend or something, and it's like and there aren't that many people there. I mean, there's enough people that it looks like a baseball game, but it's not like a whole lot of people. So it felt like a nice thing to do, grab a hot dog and
get a foam finger.
Just be like, hang out with some friends. Like it's because you can, if you went to a movie, you're watching the movie, you can't talk to people during the movie. But at a baseball game, you can watch what's happening on the field, but you can also like talk at a normal volume with your friends.
Yeah, that's true. You could hypothetically do those things in a movie theater, but the other theater goers would not take kindly to your shenanigans. But yeah, it is nice to like those events where you can like talk to people as it's happening and not have someone in the back row shush you or make some passive aggressive comments about you.
Yeah, like bitch.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's ever... Get out the theater. Get out of here.
Bitch, get out the data.
Damn. That sounds like a very like specific person. I don't know who, but it sounds like you could be that person in the theater telling me to get out of the theater. Like, I believe you. That's some good acting right there. You're playing.
What if there were a complete stranger, but they like say a random name they happen to get it right, and it's your name?
Oh Jesus! I mean, I do have a pretty like common name, so they could get it. You could pull my name. My name is definitely like you can find my name on the magnets that they sell at Hallmark and shit.
Or they just say, "Get the hell out, bye, Felicia."
Yeah, Felicia. Everyone is Felicia. Felicia is all encompassing. Even if your name is not Felicia, you can be Felicia if someone is saying goodbye to you. If you're pulling some shit and someone says goodbye, Felicia. I don't think they would say it like that. Like, farewell, Felicia. Goodbye, Felicia. It's like very casually.
I want to hear that song from the Sound of Music where they say goodbye, but interjected with Felicia.
Yeah, I'm sure with the power of like editing, that could happen. You could do that.
I could arrange that version.
You could.
And
you could like wholly record. Well, you wouldn't write it because it's already written, but you could write your own.
The parody of
a parody version.
What's the official title of that song from Sound of Music? Is it
not
So Long?
Goodbye?
It's just So Long Farewell, or
yeah. I get, or I don't know.
Whatever.
It has but everyone knows the song.
Yeah, and so I'll make a parody of that.
Yeah,
called
excellent.
So Long Farewell for Felicia.
Farewell, Felicia. Got that alliteration in there. Farewell, Felicia.
Yeah. I guess. All right. Do you want to stop?
Yeah, we could. We can call it.
Yeah. All right. Guys, time of death. Call it.
Time of death. 5:28. The victim passed away at 5:28 p.m. on December 31st.
And on the recording, released the raw recording, time of death, how long it is. It's 4:03 ish.
4:03.
4 hours. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Even though this is the first episode of yours that will be released.
Yes, I will see the light of day. Our COVID quarantine Zoom call podcast. Yes.
And how do you feel being a semi-returning guest?
Feels good. The Benson. I was going to call it the Benson podcast, but that's not the name of the podcast. It's the
it's the podcast.
The podcast with Benson Tai is a good place to be. So I'm glad.
I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to slip and call it the podcast with Ben Sam.
With Ben Sam. Yeah, the Ben Sam podcast is a good place to be. I'm glad to be invited to have these conversations, even if the first one didn't see the light of day. It's still just good to chill and chat.
And I think I'm pretty sure you haven't peaked at any point during this one.
Wow, that's really good. I'm proud of me.
You got up there but
I'm sure
I don't think you actually peaked. So this might, and of course, and also now we are recorded on separate tracks. So yeah, I'm confident that this one will make it.
Good. Okay. Did you say it will make it or won't?
I'm confident that this one will make it.
Okay. For some reason, I was like, did he say won't? I'm glad you said that. I was like, fuck.
Sam, it's shit again. We gotta do it again.
Whatever, man. I would.
Turn the shit again. We have to do it over. So we'll have to review this episode, and how this episode reviewed the first one.
The review. And that would be the podcast about the podcast.
About the podcast with Benson Tai. With Benson Tai.
So that's what we've been talking about since the first one. So we're like, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're making it happen. Amazing.
So that means the next time I have you on, which will happen. Would you like to be on this again?
Yeah, we'll do it. I'll do it.
You would be down for a quote unquote third appearance.
Yeah, we'll do it. If we can do it in person one day, we'll do it. But if not, we'll do this. Fuck it.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Well, thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, thank you, Benson.
And I think the first session, I decided to name the file and the episode Sam Nikitas.
Yeah.
But now I think for some reason I got into the thing of just referring to you as Samantha in all the text.
Yeah, do it.
That way they can't.
Whatever the fuck. Just honestly, make a fake name for me. Just make a fake first name, but in the audio, obviously my name will not be the thing that you upload.
Hold on. What? I'll refer to you as whatever the fuck.
Yeah, whatever the fuck, Nikitas.
No, just whatever.
Don't even
whatever. Middle name the, last name fuck.
Yeah, full name whatever the fuck. It's on my birthday. I am a mystery.
The episode title is whatever the fuck.
That will throw the listeners for
people will see it's 4 hours long.
Ryan Sanchez gonna be like,
it's called whatever the fuck.
They're gonna be like, is Benson okay?
Because
I feel like they would see something that is 4 hours long and is titled whatever the fuck, and they would just be like, this must be the ramblings of a madman.
And I mean,
it is.
And the thing is, half the episode is the podcast about the podcast with Benson Tai. So you could say, yeah, it is.
You could say, yes, it is exactly that. We've turned it into exactly that.
Well, I think this has turned into basically the podcast, the podcast you wouldn't like, which is a couple of friends like having inside jokes. And
yeah, I mean, we were addressing kind of like an inside conversation, but I felt like we made it.
But I guess it's different now because you're one of the people on the show.
Yeah. Here I am. I'm a person. So they tell me. They tell me I'm a person.
So they tell me.
So they tell me.
All right. So thank you, Samantha, for being on the show. This is the longest thing ever. This is now the longest thing ever.
Records I make.
So suck that, Sam, from the first time.
Suck that, Doctor. I don't even remember the Doctor.
Professor Striff.
Suck it, Professor Striff, and suck it, me from February.
It's good talking to you.
Yeah, my closing statement is suck it, Dr. Striff and Sam from 2020. Or I guess I'm still Sam from 2020 right now, but suck it, Sam from February of 2020.
Now I remember specifically you had said suck that, Dr. Striff. Oh wait, please don't suck that.
No, don't suck Dr. Striff.
Please
don't. Whatever you do, don't suck it.
I don't even know Dr. Striff. Please, don't call my mom.
Don't tell my mommy.
Don't tell my mommy.
Please.
Okay. Thank you, Sam.
Yes, thank you.
It's good talking to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You and the listener. 2021, it will be a year because we said so and we made calendars for it.
Yep, because we said so.
We said so.
Because we as people collectively said so.
Yes, because humanity said, here we go.
Okay.
All right.
I'm finding it more difficult to sign off on these things. Like I keep prolonging the so long farewell of you saying goodbye, Felicia.
Do I need to so we can just end it here and you can cut whatever out, but do I need to do anything on this browser website that I'm on for your end?
Open.
Just keep it open? Okay, so I won't even touch it. Cool. You can take care of that.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Bye.
Bye, Benson.